Welcome to the Foul Play YouTube channel, open mic number 171. And we're continuing today with our rebuttal of Cam episode 9. This is part 2. So I want to welcome everyone. We had a really, kind of a really interesting chat there yesterday. Doc and everybody got a little fired up. People got a little excited.
It was good.
It was good. You know, as long as people, we understand that these cases are really polarizing, but the best approach, I'm just telling you after my many years of looking at it, and I know others as well, just try to take as much emotion out of it as you can, especially if you have questions, and not come to a direct conclusion unless you have it. We try to keep ourselves as open as we can. So anyway, we still got a bunch of clips. We didn't get through very many. There's 14 clips total that between what we carved out of episode 9. We got through 4. So anyway, I'm going to let everyone on the panel say hello. I want to thank. We got people rolling in as we speak. So certainly want to welcome everybody that's here. But I want to let everybody say hi right quick, and then any pre-conversation that we might want to have before we start. And then we're going to get into these clips because I'd like to get done with them. I know we want to finish this at part 2 and be done with it, so we can move on to the next episode. So first, I want to say hello to Just Rhonda. I'm just going to go along the top here. Just Rhonda, how are you?
Hello, Jack. How are you? I'm doing well. Recovered from a busy night last night.
Oh yeah.
Just glad to be here and glad to get through the rest of this and see what happens.
There you go. Well, thanks for coming and all your work behind the scenes there yesterday. Working, highlighting comments and dealing with various things in the live chat. We'll talk about that before we get started. But JD, thanks for coming along. How you doing, sir?
I'm doing well, thanks. Just want to say hi to everybody on panel and everybody else that's joined us this evening.
Excellent. All righty. Well, thanks for coming, JD. And then Cherie.
Hi, folks, and welcome to Open Mic Cam Rebuttal, Episode 9.
Excellent. Thank you, Cherie. Dr. Silkman, have you recovered?
Well, I actually haven't left my room. No, I'm only kidding. Thank you so much, Jack61, and welcome panel, and welcome everyone in chat. Again, thank you so much yesterday. It was a very lively, very passionate show. Lots of questions, lots of comments, and can't wait to continue today. Thank you so much for coming.
Yeah, it was one of the. We had probably as many or more questions yesterday than I can remember in a long, long time. They were really rolling in. It was good. Yeah.
That's awesome.
And then, of course, Susan, she's all rested, hasn't been doing anything today. I'm kidding. Susan's tired.
Jack. Hi, everybody. Yeah, I just got home from work. Happy Sunday or happy Monday, wherever you are.
And she's got a roast waiting on her at some point, so.
I do. I have a roast in the crock pot, and I can't wait to get to it. So let's get to this.
We had roast a couple of nights ago. My wife made taters and onions, carrots.
Yeah, got all that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, she got a deal at the store and got 2 of them, so.
Nice.
Anyway.
Hi, Travis.
Yep. Let's say we got pretty busy last night talking. So, Susan, can you say hello right quick to the live chatters that have joined us so far?
I sure will. I'm just going to call out your names. Travis Williamson, ESQ, Squire, Anthony D., rumor has it, Colette M., Passive Bear, Pete Moss, Crockett Thompson, Gloria, Clive Coolidge, Dr. Silkman, James Crane, Myra Pennington, JD, Clive Coolidge, Brooke Avila, Cher, Sheila Jones, Just Rhonda is in chat, Courtney Q, Nosy Wren, Kay is with us, Paul Ward, rumor has it, Anthony D, I may be repeating here, I'm not sure, Routers, Gloria, Maz, Master Cedar, Stephen Cobb, let's see, Sheila Jones. I think that's it for now. Welcome, everybody, and thanks for being here.
Yeah, I hadn't seen Maz in a long while. I know she had to take some time out, so special welcome to everyone, but certainly
And there's
welcome
Graham
back, Maz.
Moss.
Oh, there you go. So before we start, again tonight, I'm going to repeat this as it bears repeating. Please be civil. Our purpose in doing these is a rebuttal to these various episodes of Convicting a Murderer. Now, it's nice to get sidetracked a little bit, but we can't do it much, or as Doc said, Rhonda said, I think Susan even said it, we'll never get through what we have if we just, and we don't mind answering questions, but we can't go too far off the path. And I want to welcome Alice. Alice is here.
Hey, Alice.
Hey everyone, hello.
Everyone's
Hi,
been
Alice.
missing you.
Yep.
Yeah, it was just a bit of a difficult weekend this weekend. Close friends passed away, so it was her funeral on Friday. So I had to go and see the grandbaby yesterday, and I got home late from seeing the grandbaby. So got all cheered up, and I can't believe how much he's changed in bloody a couple of weeks. So, but yeah, he's starting to even get his wee cheeky nature just now as well, because he was going to sleep last night, and I put him down on his cot, and I put him on his side, and I was just getting ready to leave the room, and he bounced round onto his back, and the eyes were wide open, and he's like, no chance, I'm not going to sleep. It's like, you wee bugger, you wee bugger, get to sleep. So, yeah, but glad to be back on panel, glad to see everyone in chat. Hello to Stephen Cobb. He likes how I say his name in my accent. So hello. Hi everyone in the chat. It's great to see all the usual suspects with us.
Thank you, Alice. Appreciate that. Yeah, we got a new name there. What's the Gazwall? Oh, hello, Gaz.
Gaz isn't new.
Okay.
I remember Gaz. I remember Gazwall.
I try to, but I apologize. It just didn't stick in the old memory banks. Yeah.
Well, you're always busy behind the scenes doing other stuff. Can I just say one thing, Jack, just to kind of state again, not a rule, but a suggestion. If you do put a question in the chat, unless it's directly related to exactly what we're talking about, I'll probably star it and we'll try to get to it after we're finished with the topic. Or if your question, if a topic comes up that your question relates to at some point, then we'll address it at that time if that's okay with everyone. And listen, last night, the chat, you guys were on freaking fire last night. And it was hard keeping up with, comments and questions. And I admit I got a little behind on some things, but that's kind of how we want to go moving forward, if that's okay with everyone. So put the Q in front of it so I realize it's a question that you would like an answer to, and we'll go from there. Okay? Thank you.
Yeah, I think that's the best approach, and that way we can kind of keep things on track, and then we get to the end, we can maybe answer some questions that maybe somebody just doesn't know. I did want to say something to Crockett. He had left me another comment on YouTube, and I will get back to you on that. Crockett, I hadn't forgot. I just saw it earlier, and I just hadn't had a chance to answer you, but I will. So anyway. All right, we got through. Doc, anybody have any other comments before we start?
The only comment I want to say is it's fantastic that the conversation is very active and people are asking questions. Both cases are clearly very emotive. Cam has opened up really a can of worms, and it means that more people, more eyes looking at the case, and that's awesome. You know, we're here to find the truth, good, bad, or otherwise, and to seek justice for Teresa. And I, for one, really do appreciate all the questions. I'm sure everybody on the panel does. Thank you, guys.
Yeah, thanks, Doc. Mass had put in the chat. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I was just going to mention that to you. Go ahead.
No, please.
Oh, was it Mass that asked how to watch it in the UK?
Yeah. Yeah, okay. You're gonna maybe Jay or Jay. Can you answer that question? What channel it may be on in the UK, or they have to subscribe to the Daily Wire, or how's that work?
I actually just subscribed to the Daily Wire and followed it, but
yeah,
that's what you would need to do. Yeah.
Yeah, it cost me about
that's what you need to do in the UK to watch it. You need to actually subscribe to the Daily Wire, because it's not on any of our free channels or anything like that yet. Because I mean, we get documentary and history and you know stuff like that.
First couple episodes are on YouTube.
That was on YouTube. Aren't they? Was.
Yeah, two of them. Two.
Yeah.
I don't know if you can actually download the actual TV show from Daily Wire and say that you hard disk. I don't know if you can.
No, I don't know. I don't think you can do that. No. I don't think there's a download option. I just know when I subscribed, I didn't see any option for download. You could just play it, but there's no option to download. So, all right. Anything else before I pop this first clip on? There's a question from Graham right off the bat before we start.
Yes, we did. Does someone want to read the question out?
Dr. Silkman, yesterday you said item FL was contaminated in the lab. If item FL was contaminated, so is the key. If item FL has not got TH DNA on it, it would be useless.
It's a separate test.
Oh, yeah, correct. There are many issues. We're not going to spend too much time on this. There are many issues with both the key and the bullet fragment. One of the key problems I see straight off the bat is that Cherie Culhane had utilized all the DNA from the key and also from item FL. It means that you no longer can independently retest both items. And we know that the key is very, very suspicious just to begin with, because none of Teresa Halbach's DNA or I don't even believe fingerprints were found on the key. The only person's DNA that was found on that key was Stephen Avery's. And also the amount of DNA found on the key was extraordinarily high. And as Ken Kratz said in Cam, when the detectives found the key, what did he say? What did Ken Kratz say, Jack 61?
You guys just fucked up my case.
Yep. So in all seriousness, you really do have to question the validity of both the key and also the bullet fragment. Contamination events definitely did occur at Cherie Culhane's desk. One can argue about the validity of the key. And, like I said, today we're going to rebut episode 9, but thank you so much for the question.
Yeah. Thank you, Doc.
Awesome.
Okay. Yep. All right. Any more questions before we move forward? Good.
Courtney Q says, where did the words flattened bullet come from? They were in the trial.
That's correct.
Correct. There were 2 bullet fragments that were found, item FL and item FK. Item FK was found in between 2 joins of concrete in the garage, like in a crack. And it was so badly damaged and flattened that Newhouse couldn't actually determine which rifle had fired it, but Newhouse was able to determine that item FL was fired from the .22 Marlin 60 that was present in Stephen Avery's bedroom. Correct.
Right. Yep.
And then Tony Freeman says, was there any DNA on the lanyard? They did not test it, as far as we know.
No.
No.
Cherie Culhane, all she did was swab the black part of the key that was found in Stephen Avery's bedroom. I think it's item C, and that's where she detected Stephen Avery's genomic DNA. But they also put the key under high-powered microscopy. Dr. Palinek did. He didn't see any evidence of blood or tissue or anything like that, and nor did Cherie Culhane.
And an interesting thing about the lanyard, the big part, they talked about, I think it was, correct me if I'm wrong, guys, because I don't remember, I think it was episode 7, that they talked about, it could have been 8, but they talked about this lanyard being found in this storage section between the 2 seats in the front of the RAV.
Yes.
But they didn't take any photos of it. They just pointed it. They just pointed, well, this is where it was found. Really?
Yeah.
Would you like to prove that?
Right.
And it creates another problem as to where it actually came from. I'm not saying that they're lying. I'm just saying they didn't prove it to me that it came from that damn RAV at all.
Yeah. And to answer Courtney's question, FK was in the crack, not item FL.
FL was under the air compressor, behind Jack's head right there.
Yeah, it's behind. Yeah, that green compressor above my head. That's why I've got my head down. That green compressor is allegedly somewhere under there where item FL was found. But according to Fassbender, it went through Teresa's skull twice and her brain. It's just ridiculous. Anyway, I don't want to get too far off track. Yeah. All right, there's Hugh Frazier. Hey, Hugh, thanks for coming. Any more questions, Susan? Honda?
Yeah, I think we can get to the first clip.
Yeah.
Let's do it.
Hey, you're kidding. Okay. All right. This is clip 4 of the 14 we've got. Anyway, this is clip 4. Let's get to it. Here we go.
These bad cops say we don't have enough. Let's put a little of Teresa's DNA on that. They must have saved some.
Put it under the air compressor against the wall in the garage.
Again, if these bad cops are setting Stephen up, are they gonna hide this stuff like that? They want it to be found. I don't think so.
Every road is a dead end that provides zero proof that any planting took place.
There's nothing that would indicate that Avery was framed and that somebody else killed Teresa Hallback.
I think we actually played this one yesterday, but I think I included it on. Yeah, I included it on purpose. I thought so. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, we still run. Oh, never mind.
Yeah, we did, and I think we've discussed item FL ad infinitum, that it's a bullet fragment that no one can really explain how it got underneath the green compressor. And just the important thing is that when the bullet fragment was examined, there was no presence of blood, no presence of tissue, and most importantly, no presence of bone fragments. So most definitely didn't hit skull. And it's completely unaccounted for why Teresa Hallback's DNA will be present on that bullet, but it can be very easily explained as a contamination event at the workbench.
Well, if she contaminated the negative control, she could have just as easily had contaminated item FL, in my opinion.
Yep, very easily. Correct.
And she did have Teresa's
DNA
items there, DNA there.
Yeah,
at her workbench. She did.
Yep, and that was discovered actually by Buting, who found out that a lot of the forensic DNA samples, instead of being placed back in storage, in the storage locker, Cherie Culhane actually had them under her bench. And that's not what you do. If you're working with material, especially genomic DNA material, you must understand that when you isolate pure genomic DNA from, say, cells, a pap smear slide that contains epithelial cells, the concentration of DNA you're going to obtain is extremely high, which means that if you're performing a PCR, it's very, very easy to cross-contaminate samples. So you need to be very, very careful. Correct.
Yeah.
I was watching a show about a murder today. I forget, a YouTube. Anyway, they had a contamination in the lab on a DNA, and the analyst had her DNA and her baby's DNA was in the contaminated in the sample, because she had, her baby had spit up on her or something. And
oh wow.
So, yeah. So the defense was trying to go after them for the contamination, but she had rerun the sample.
Yep.
And they had a clean one. So
correct. Yeah, excellent
it didn't
point.
matter. Yeah,
that's exactly right. And that's why if you have a contamination event, really it's not a big deal. You know what you do if you got a contamination event in the lab. You throw away all the samples, you throw away all the solutions, you note it down, you repeat the experiment de novo from scratch, right? So, unfortunately for Cherie Cohane, she couldn't do that for the key and also for the bullet. Yeah, that's a disaster.
Danny had a, put that comment back up, Danny Malice. It wasn't missed in early searches. It was put there when they decided on putting the shooting in the garage when it was fed to Brendan. And this is, we can debate this with state advocates till the cows come home and they won't agree with you. But the problem is the number of days that they spent on that property from the 5th until the 12th. And they were in that garage. I don't know how many times they were in there searching, looking. They collected all the shell casings. I just, for the life of me, don't quite understand how any bullet fragments inside that garage wouldn't have been collected, or what. I mean, maybe out of MFK, maybe not. But
they found the casings very early on, right, Jackson?
They did.
Yeah, and
That's right.
they're crawling all over that floor to find more. So I can't believe they wouldn't have looked underneath the air compressor.
Yeah.
Well, and the toolbox and anything else
And
kind of laying around was open.
Yeah.
Correct.
Floor space.
Especially if they're looking for a potential murder weapon, they would have searched absolutely everywhere. And if they're spraying for luminol, it's hard to believe that they're not going to look. In fact, we've got a picture or a couple of pictures in which there's a torch pointed right underneath the green compressor when they were taking measurements of the garage for the 3D imaging. There was a torch on the ground. So how they possibly could have missed a bullet early on in November, December, it staggers belief. And once Dr. Eisenberg had isolated and found the cranial bone fragments with the beveling, it meant that there was a shooting scenario. So they're trying to link the cartridges with bullet fragments to the murder of Teresa Halbach. Unfortunately, as it turned out, item FL had never struck skull, never struck bone. There was not even the presence of blood or tissue or anything on it, except it was impregnated with wood fragments, wax, and red paint. The bullet clearly did not strike a human being. The bullet had struck a wall. And if you have a look at Stephen's garage from the outside, there's a section that's actually red, right? And
that's right.
And it's a wooden surface, right? But common sense just flies out the window, and Tom Fassbender has to present this bizarre hypothesis in which Stephen Avery is literally in a military crouching position shooting Teresa Halbach on the ground.
Oh, yeah, he's prone, somehow laying over there, and for whatever reason he would do that. I was really surprised that they included that. I said it before, and I still am, because it just defies really any logic to me. Number one, why he would feel he would need to lay down if he was going to actually do that. But
no.
But one more thing before we get to any more questions. The thing about the skull fragments, They knew about one of them in November, if I'm correct.
Yes.
They found out about the second one not long before they really went after Brendan in February. I'm pretty sure that's when Uyghur and Fassbender were made aware of this second fragment with beveling. I'm almost positive I ran that one down. So they knew. They knew.
Yep, and JD's correct. There were no exit holes at all. That's because only 35% of the skull was actually recovered. So they had no outshots at all, and a .22 bullet doesn't have the energy for in and out. It loses a lot of the penetrating power as soon as it does the very first entrance wound. Yep.
Right. Okay. Susan, Rhonda, Cherie, any more questions? Alice, any more questions, comments before we play this next clip? Because this is going to be an interesting one.
This is going to be an interesting one as well. Yep.
Yep.
Go ahead.
We good?
No,
Okay.
we're all good.
Alrighty. Yep. All right. Here's clip 5.
I do this too, right along with you. She just comes over by me to talk. Maybe you got something all planned. Yeah, we get rid of him, we got it all. And money. And I'm going away for life. And she got my money, and then you got my money. What did I tell you before? Yeah, did I tell you that? I didn't want none of your freaking money? Yeah. But it all comes back to you.
Bobby, Brian, Scotty, Mr. Radant, Chucky, me, Mr. Yonda, Officer Colborn, Zippers, everybody but him. It's a good thing that I had an eye appointment that day and I was in Manitowoc and I had an alibi, because otherwise I'd probably be, he'd probably swing me right into this shit.
I ain't sitting in here for something I didn't do. So you're going to pin it on everybody else. You're going to try to.
Well,
Ooh, I would love to address this one.
Blaze, go for it.
Let's say you're an innocent man sitting in jail accused of murder. You didn't do it. You're going to sit there and think about everybody that possibly could have. I mean, it's so simple to read it that way. And I'm sorry, Earl was at he went to the eye doctor at 5:30 or whatever.
That's right.
That doesn't make him have an alibi.
No, it does not. I agree with you.
Well, speaking of alibis, wasn't it in 1985 that Stephen had many alibis? And
16.
There was
16.
Proof, right.
Yeah.
And there was proof that he was nowhere near there, and he was still convicted. So sorry, Mr. Earl, but, that line that when he said that is just ludicrous to me. What an
Well,
asshole.
and to add to the 85 case, when the cops did this checking to see if you could actually make it from the Avery salvage yard to make it all these, they had to go well over the speed limit, and they didn't include any. Yeah, they didn't include any children or getting Lori into the car. 2 of them newborns, twins.
Yep.
Come on, man.
Yeah,
it's great.
Yep. But sorry, Susan, I can continue.
Yeah, I was pretty much done, but I understand why Stephen pointed the finger at everybody, just trying to figure out who did this. I know it wasn't me, so who the heck did this?
Yeah, correct.
Well, and Doc, I'll let you talk, but maybe you can add in, our known issues about the problems within the family and the money. Go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, I think we'll probably have to do a separate podcast to this, because I could talk for 4 hours on this, because I've gone really on a tangent, and I've spent a lot of time and discussing with other people about Chuck Avery as a potential suspect, and there's no doubt the phone calls that we've got, especially the calls involving Jody and Chuck Avery, are very, very revealing, especially the one on November the 12th, which is, very, very early on in the investigation. And it's quite clear that Chuck, at every opportunity, is pointing to his brother, yeah, I listened to what the detectives have said, and I agree with them. There's blood on the key, and this and this and this, and but interesting, Jody, right at the start, was defending her fiance, thinking, I can't see Stephen doing this. What the hell? I phoned him up. He sounded normal, right? Because remember, Jody had phoned Stephen up twice, didn't detect anything in his voice. And you know how women are. They're very perceptive. If you're being deceptive, they can pick it up like very, very easily.
Oh, and depending on the mood, you're going to pay for that too.
Yep. And
yeah, we know.
Oh yeah. And it's very interesting that Chuck, at all opportunities, did not provide any support for his own brother. And now to hear Earl say essentially the same thing, Stephen would have thrown me under the bus. And it goes to show the horrible division that has occurred in the family and is still occurring now. That's why us as a team, we do not get involved in family dynamics, right, guys?
No way.
We stay right out. And it's just a tragedy that Cam used both Candy and also Earl as mouthpieces against Stephen Avery and his character. And again, the last comment by Earl was very, very chilling. By Chuck was very, very chilling. Are you going to try and pin it on anybody? Are you? And it's very interesting. And Susan is correct. The guy's in a cell. He's thinking about things, right? And he clearly, right, guys, back me up, he was not happy with the way Chuck was trying to impose himself on Jody. That caused a lot of problems.
Well, yeah, I mean, actually, I'm sure of it. We're still missing calls and visits, but I feel certain that Stephen was told either by Dolores or other people about things going on behind his back. Despite whatever, I'm talking about this Chuck, really kind of going after Jody. I think that he was told, and he always bore that in mind with her. She's going to be getting out, and he's, Stephen being having the controlling nature that he has. I can see this, number one, that plus this jealousy factor and just so many other things, but we know for sure, for positive, and this started actually pretty early on, this division that was created by law enforcement. And people can deny that all they want. All they got to do is read the documents and listen to the calls.
Correct. And like we've always said, guys, do not listen to us. We're only providing our opinions. The important thing is within our own library, we've got all the primary documents for free, no paywall. Go to your hardest content. Do a podcast. We'll love to get your viewpoint. But there's no doubt, if you think about it seriously, they never expected Stephen Avery ever to come out of prison for what he was accused of doing in 1985. And all of a sudden, in 2003, right, guys, he gets exonerated.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, the golden boy, according to Mama Avery, has now come back onto the Avery salvage yard, completely disrupted the status quo. And furthermore, Stephen was using the money that he was going to get as a form of leverage. Or I can buy you this, or I can buy you that. And I'll tell you what, if you're Chuck and Earl, who are the co-owners of the Avery salvage yard, you'll be pretty nervous, especially if Stephen had $5 to $8 million or so in his hands. He could have potentially bought out the entire property, because remember, the boys were not happy that he was selling cars. Sorry,
Well, no. I was just going to say that even before that was going on, this Avery bill, he was due to get $450,000. That was on the table. And of course, that went away. But so he would have ran into quite a pile of money even before the lawsuit. Whatever direction Nick would have went into. But I did want to see before we move on. Hey, there's Veronica Clark. Hey, thanks for coming. It was, Rhonda, you had it up. I think it was from Courtney Q. Question, do you have a number for the video you were talking about? I'm not sure in what relation.
This is clip 5 of our clip.
I think she was talking about the jail call. That's what I thought. I put those in there,
Oh,
but I could be wrong.
I think it was November 12th. I think it was Jack 61. The call between Jody and Chuck. It's on our website.
Yeah.
I thought she was talking about the 31st. Okay.
That was either that. Actually, I think we thought for I think for the longest time we thought that was a jail visit, but it's actually a jail. Yeah, you're correct. It's a jail call. I remember now. Yes, November 12th. That's right.
Although Chuck did say, "Stop staring at me. You're making me nervous."
I think he was talking to. No, that's not what I'm thinking. I don't know. I'll review it. But I'm sure that was a call because Jody was talking about, or Chuck was talking about Bear. I remember, or about one of the dogs or something. I'm sure of it. Anyway, we'll review that. But interestingly enough, about that call, Jody had been interviewed. This is like, I think, her second or third one at this point. The day before by Strauss and Dettering. I'm still trying to get that audio that they have dragged their feet on for 15 months. Okay.
There was a question. Oh, yeah. Chuck was definitely interested in Jody. No question about that. In actual fact, if you look in CASO, Jody even says that Chuck made advances to her, and I think she actually caught him in the trailer when Stephen and Earl went to an auction. She found Chuck in the trailer. So Chuck definitely was making advances to Jody, and I won't even say what he did to Laurie. It's just shocking.
There was also a story where he showed up at the trailer with this gun.
I think so.
That had something to do with Jody.
Yep, and he also was accused by, I believe, his ex-wife that he actually climbed into the bedroom and was found standing over her in her bedroom. You're thinking, oh, this can't be good.
Yeah.
Yep.
Courtney says on the Jody call playlist. I'm not. Maybe we can resolve that.
Is that in key calls or no?
No. The Jody calls are separate. They have their own playlist.
Right.
That's correct.
I don't see. I'm looking at it. I don't see the 12th of November.
Oh, that would be. I'll have to look. I'll have to run it down. No, that wouldn't be. I don't remember where it's at. That could be in. It could be. No, it wouldn't be in. No, that's not a key call. I've kept those separate. The jail calls. It could be in the. It could be in the miscellaneous section.
It could be. Yep. No, Jody was interviewed in CASO and stated those things. Like I said, we really have to do a podcast on this because it'll take us several hours. But I've been downloading and reading a lot of the documents, and it's actually quite scary. Yep, Chuck's past, what he's done, and there were 2 women who actually called the police on him and filed complaints that he was actually stalking them, and these are clients of the salvage yard. Yeah, they were really, really worried.
Yeah, and I'm just gonna so everybody's aware.
Okay, we've got to do our rebuttal.
Well, yeah, I don't want to get too far off track, but I'm gonna throw this on the screen just so everybody is aware. I actually mentioned this yesterday. I should have done it yesterday, but I didn't. I'm gonna do it now. Everybody can make of it what they will. Yeah. This is DCI Report 274. It should pop in there. There we go. And this is what I was talking about yesterday. These are the calls, part of the calls that I've been trying to get. I'm not going to go through the list. I'm just showing it to you so everybody's aware of it. And if you go down, it clearly says that that's been received from Mark Wiegert, Calumet County. And it goes through and lists all these calls. You can see them there, 1/9 through 1/19. And it goes on and on and on.
Yeah.
I still can't get these calls. Nobody seems to have a clue as to what the hell is going on. So I suspect in above and beyond what we already have, there's more in there that it's not going to crack the case, but I think it would certainly be interesting to have, and it would add to the story.
Yeah, it'll give you a much more deeper perspective, especially what Chuck was trying to do, basically take Jody for himself. And I do believe that the money that Stephen was going to get was going to be very, very damaging, especially for Chuck and for Earl, because I think Mama Avery liked Stephen a real lot and vice versa. And really the only two people that gave Stephen a lot of support were his parents. Yep.
Well, yeah, and just talking about Jody, we were talking about the law enforcement, what they did in trying to divide the family, which they did. They tried to do it to Jody as well. They tried really, really hard to do it. And this is seen by the number of times that you can just see they've isolated her calls, and they're listening to them, and they're summarizing them. There's a whole summary there. And this is not the only one, not the only DCI report that's like that. I think there's two more. So anyway, all right. Anything else?
Just one point. I know you guys are going to kill me, but this was a very, very telling point. Remember the scene in Making a Murderer when the cameras were following Chuck, and he was going into the elevator, and one of the reporters asked Chuck, "Are you willing to put up the Avery salvage yard as a form of deposit for the bail?"
Lateral. Yeah.
And Chuck hesitated. And then he goes, "Yes, we will." And did you notice who was standing next to Chuck? Debbie.
Oh my God.
Oh God.
That's a whole other
podcast.
That is another podcast for sure.
Correct.
All right. Rhonda, Susan, Cherie, Alice.
I'm good. There's just people making comments, no real questions.
Okay. All right. Which one did I play? Did I play the Chuck clip 5? That's what I played.
Yes. Correct.
All right. This next one should be another interesting clip. We got Fassbender talking again. Here we go. Clip 6.
A criticism of what we said to him.
Did you bully a confession out of this boy?
No, I did not.
For a kid that's very suggestible, that's what I saw. And that's, I think, what millions of people saw.
For the truthers, the $36 million, along with the embarrassment caused by Stephen Avery, is the whole reason that they were involved in a cover-up, the killing, whatever you believe it was. But the $36 million goes away at the end of February 2006.
Why would we be interested in going to great extents to coerce Brendan Dassey if the alleged reason from their side is gone?
In negotiating the settlement amount, Stephen Avery went from asking $36 million to accepting $400,000.
In terms of timing, Stephen Avery's civil suit had already settled before Brendan Dassey confessed.
There's no issue with the money. So now solely because they still hate Avery that much, they're going to bring an innocent kid into it just so he can provide corroborating evidence that backs up that this did happen and Avery did it.
We had evidence on Stephen. I don't need to berate Brendan to try and get anything else.
But you did.
Yep.
I'm going to shut up.
when Brendan says the 36 million and the embarrassment of people involved is the only reason that they have to say there was a setup, it's just not true.
No.
It's not just embarrassment, it's careers. I mean, it goes all the way up to Peg Lautenschlager.
It does.
And it goes to the DOJ, the people that headed that investigation. And there are pensions involved. There, you know.
Potentially, yeah.
It's a lot more than embarrassment.
It
and
is.
The fact that the money
potentially reopen cases. I'm sorry, Susan. Go ahead.
Yeah, that too. Other cases. But also, you know, at that time, the public's sentiment was they were thinking that he was set up. That's how things were going at that time before they brought Brendan in. I think.
Well, in the press conference.
Yeah. The press conference changed everything. And you know, I think they didn't feel like they had enough. They you know, they weren't solid on their case. I think at that time before they brought Brendan in, and Brendan was Stephen's alibi.
That's correct.
Yes, that's right.
That's correct. Yep. Sorry, Susan.
I'm done. Go ahead.
Yeah, so it became pretty obvious, and we've covered this, that Skolinski, O'Neill, and other detectives that spoke with Brendan knew that, according to the detectives, Brendan Dassey knew more than what he was letting out to. And Skolinski challenged him, I think it was November the 10th, very, very early on. Stop defending your uncle. Remember how they challenged him? We believe that Stephen did this, burned Teresa because they found the so-called human bones. And they were tweaking back then. Wait a minute. And Susan is correct. If Brendan Dassey was with his uncle, Stephen Avery, then the two must have done this together. They couldn't work out a scenario whereby Stephen had done this after Brendan went home, right? So the thoughts and feelings were, okay, Brendan knows something. Either he is a witness or he's a co-conspirator. This utter crap that Fassbender goes, well, you know, the money wasn't an issue now. We didn't need to bring in Brendan. Bullshit. The reason why they needed Brendan is so that Brendan could provide a narrative, right? A narrative to the story, because the state's case against Stephen was extremely circumstantial, right, guys?
Well, yeah, especially when you have the fucked up test.
Yeah.
And you have Stephen talking to the press all the time, telling them, you know, they planted this stuff on me. I'm innocent. So, yeah.
Correct. So they needed to work out a narrative, something that they could cobble together as a story. And Mr. Kratz then, March the 2nd, did that devastating press conference. Why? It's easy. Because even Kratz said in his book, I had to be very, very careful because Stephen was regarded as a local hero. People knew who he was. He had a presence talking to politicians, other people in the media, shaking hands with the governor. So you had Stephen here, you had the murder there, and so you had to bring them together. And if Stephen's talking to the press saying, hey, I never did anything, the police are framing me, then they had to do something really bad and nasty to halt that attention on Stephen. What do? You arrest him, you quieten him, you get him for felon in possession of a weapon. He no longer has the freedom to talk to the press. And then you coerce Brendan to concoct this narrative, throw it out to the public. And guys, your sympathy for Stephen and Brendan is what, guys? Gone.
Yeah.
Gone.
Well, you know, I think since we're talking about, you know, everything about Brendan, especially here in this beginning time,
Yep.
we have to include how that came about, right?
Correct.
Where that originated. And it didn't originate from Brendan.
No. Kayla?
Susan? Yep. Go ahead.
I'm sorry, Jack. What didn't originate from Brendan?
He didn't call the cop and say, I need to talk to you. That's not how all that came about at all.
Right. Yep. When they interviewed Kayla, she told them
Well,
they should talk to him.
Yeah, but why did they interview Kayla? What led to that? It came from a hearsay conversation.
Candy?
They were talking to they were talking to Earl and Candy and Kayla. There was an interview where that came up when she talked about Brendan.
Yeah, but this child psychologist or whatever she was at the school had made this comment and then told somebody. It's like a twice removed hearsay comment.
Telephone.
No, well, I don't know if it's a telephone interview or not. I just know that.
No, I mean the game telephone where one person says it and then.
Oh yeah, absolutely the game, absolutely.
Yeah.
So
I'm not sure it applies, but anyway, sorry.
No. You're fine. I'm just saying that to me, I've looked at the origins of where this all came from, and we all know we've talked about it before. Kratz, they needed something to get back in that property because they really needed to put. I think he felt like maybe in conversations with Fallon and Gon and whoever else, they needed some way to put Teresa inside that property. Don't ever forget about that note that Fassbender left for Culhane. Put her in the house or the garage. And that's what they ended up doing. So the origins of that whole thing for Brendan to me is really vital. It's really key. And I personally believe that was started right there in Earl's house. That's my opinion.
Yeah, so. Correct. They needed a narrative to work out what had actually happened to Teresa Horbach, because they really had no clue. And the problem is now the state are locked into a narrative that they can't back up forensically, right? And the fact that I think it was Kayla who wrote the note, who said that Brendan said that he saw Teresa pinned up in a chair. And then she also mentioned the fact, can blood come out of concrete, right?
Yes, that's right.
Yep. So now you go, where's the concrete? Well, the concrete has to be the garage, right? So now you've got two potential crime scenes, the inside of Stephen Avery's bedroom and the garage, right? And so that's the narrative that they went with, because then you've got the burn pit where the bones are. So hence, it's a nice, neat package. Bedroom, garage, burn pit. But the problem is, forensically, it falls apart, right, guys? It completely falls apart.
It does for me.
Yeah.
Absolutely, it does for me.
The fact that, Fassbender's note, put her in the garage or the trailer, I almost thinking that it's possible that Sherry Culhane was not in on this because she didn't do it until 4 months later. Like if she was really following his orders, she would have found something somewhere else on some other evidence earlier.
The key.
Potentially.
The key was
potentially. Yeah. I mean, if she was really trying to help them and follow his instructions. So that's why I'm thinking they handed it to Sherry with DNA on it, like the bullet.
Also possible.
That's possible.
Yeah.
A bit more.
That's just more. I was just thinking that the other day. It's a possibility.
Yeah. The thing is though, where do you think you're going to get DNA from? And the answer is, it has to be the crime lab. You got to be careful when you're planting material. You have to know the origin of the material you're planting. So
the toe of her shoe, I mean,
yeah.
I'm sure there are places you can use that. Yeah.
Yes.
I don't know.
For the key is very interesting because it only had Stephen Avery's DNA on it. So potentially that source of DNA, that's crime lab stuff. That's where the DNA is kept. That's where the DNA is stored, because they found no blood on the key, right? They found no blood on the fob, nothing. So the argument is it's touch DNA, but the level of the DNA on that key, I think, was about 10-fold higher than what you normally would get with simple touch DNA. So all the DNA values don't add up. They don't make any sense.
And
right?
he was supposedly actively bleeding.
He was actively, yes.
And he didn't bleed on that fob.
Yeah.
I found that.
The issue, of course, is the presence of the blood near the ignition key, which means that, okay, so maybe if his bleeding finger somehow touched the ignition, he had the key in his hand to turn the ignition, and there's no blood on the steering wheel anywhere else, right? So it looks, the upshot is this: the RAV looks manufactured. The blood in the RAV looks manufactured. You look at Stephen's Pontiac Grand Dam. Remember we looked at it? The blood drops are very close together because he's actively bleeding. The blood drops are quite close. Plus, guess what? Stephen grabbed the gear shift lever and there's blood on it. How's he going to drive the RAV? If you believe he drove the RAV to a cuss road across the cornfield, or he drove the RAV somehow to where it was placed, he had to touch certain items in the car in order to change gears, handbrake, steering wheel, you name it. There's no blood. No.
I mean, I've never accused Stephen of being the sharpest knife in the drawer, but even he would know that his blood would have DNA in it.
Well, he knows about DNA. He knows about, because that's what exonerated him. So he knows all about blood. He knows about DNA and the power of DNA. I don't believe he's going to leave all these out in the open clues if he's a criminal mastermind. He's not.
You know, and getting back to Brendan, I think that they were well aware that they needed some kind of bomb to get back into that property, whatever the case may be. And, we can rock this back and forward however we want, but for them to end up, that day or the next day, whatever, and searching at the garage to end up without them, FL, I don't know. I just have real problems. I'm going to add one more thing before we get to any more questions or play the next clip. And it's that talking about Brendan again and these statements that came from law enforcement, Fallon at trial, Brendan was so upset. He just had to unburden himself. But the fact is, they lied about all of that. He was upset about a girl.
Correct. He's a young kid.
He was also upset about Stephen being arrested.
Exactly.
Yeah.
They never mentioned that, right? The mere fact that he's, in actual fact, Susan, that's a brilliant point. That's exactly what Detective O'Neill, when he was questioning Brendan, he goes, "What do you think happened, Brendan?" "I believe everything was planted by the cops."
Yeah.
Oh no, Brendan, you're in trouble.
And Bobby. I mean, what he said.
Yeah.
So.
Bobby, correct.
Brendan said Bobby.
No.
Bobby was, but stuff being planted in his November 9th interview.
Correct.
Oh right.
Correct.
Yeah.
I mean,
when you listen to Stephen,
Yeah. When you think about it, right? His uncle had been in prison for something he didn't do. Yes, he had to do his 6 years for what he did
all
to
their lives, basically.
Yep. So exactly. So Brendan would have only known Stephen being in prison. Then he sees his uncle get out of prison. He's a poster child of the Innocence Project. Like I said, he's going to come into all this money, etc., etc.
TV, yeah.
And then he's pinned for a murder, right? And he goes, oh no, it's going to happen again. So yeah, if you're Brendan and you're close with Stephen, you're worried. You're really, really worried. Correct.
Sure.
Yeah.
Okay, Susan, I know you've popped up a couple of questions. I apologize for missing them, but anything we need to get to before we get to clip 7?
I think that's Rhonda popping those up.
I'm sorry, Rhonda. You want to read that out?
Yeah, Hugh Fraser asks, has anyone looked at how far back Brenda and Fassbender go as compared to, say, Brenda and Kratz?
Over 3 years. Remember Jack 61? What Brenda disclosed? Yeah, she was on friendly terms with Fassbender and also with Colburn more than 3 years ago.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I don't think we could say for sure exactly, when any real association between Brenda and Fassbender really began, but it was, it had been a while. And, I think back to Kraft's book and I think back to Greasebox book, and I don't know if there was some kind of relationship then. I'm not talking about dating. I'm just talking about communication.
Going and
Right. I don't know. I just don't know.
Yeah, I think that's when she got involved was with Greasebox book, right?
Yes.
And did that come out in 2016? Do you know?
He had two books, and I think they were prior to that. I'm almost positive. At least one of them was.
Correct.
I can't remember the print date of the second one.
Ma'am came out in
2015.
2015, correct.
15.
Yeah.
Indefensible was before Ma'am? Is that what you're saying?
I'm almost positive it was.
You have to check it.
I'm not sure.
And then I'm almost positive through Greasebox is how she met Kratz.
Mm-hmm.
And he started researching his book.
Guess.
Yeah, she was the fact checker in Kratz's book. Correct.
Yeah. In early 2016, I think, is when he started, and he was trying to get access to the DOJ files and all that. Go ahead, Doc.
I was going to say, answer Courtney's question. The muscle tissue wasn't found until the 10th. That's item BZ. Right. That's the whole controversy. When they sifted the burn pit, they didn't put the large bone fragment nor the large muscle piece tissue pieces into the box. That was discovered after when they sifted the tarp that was underneath on the 10th. So that muscle tissue was sitting around, and that large bone fragment, one of the largest bone fragments, they missed it. I don't believe that's the case. There's something weird going on with the sifting, because that's greater than 0.25 inches. There's no way that tissue nor that bone fragment goes through the sifter. So something weird is going on here. And
Pebitell's the one that found that, right? When they rescreened or rechecked that tarp
on the 10th. Correct.
On the 10th.
Yep. So they didn't find the muscle tissue until 2 days later.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
And the important thing is, guys, there's a Duke on cue. The important thing is that no bones have been DNA tested. No bones. The only thing that's been DNA tested is the muscle tissue. The FBI did mitochondrial DNA analysis, and Culhane did DNA analysis, 15 match, allelic match. Correct.
Okay.
Yeah. Awesome.
All right. Rhonda, anything else we need to get to before we move on to clip number 7?
I think we're okay.
And just one quick point. Isn't it amazing how they're trivializing the money? Oh, the money's no longer a factor. He settled for $400,000. That's only a pittance of what he should have got.
Well, but this time, and when he settled in February 12th or 13th, whatever the hell it was in 2006, he was really kind of against the wall.
Yeah.
The depositions were done. He was really royally screwed, and he knew it. So,
Yeah, he had no choice.
I don't think he had a choice.
So the question is, why? Fassbender goes, we didn't need to go after Brendan, but why did they?
That's right.
Well,
That's exactly. Why did they?
Yep.
We didn't need to do it, but they did anyway. That's what I said when the clip was over. But you did it anyway.
Correct. Yep.
Okay. I did want to say hello to Duke. How you doing, buddy? Hope you're doing well. Alrighty, I'm going to play clip 7, and this is, I think we start getting into, yep.
I'm not sure why Anthony used my name. It's fine. It's okay, but I'm not going to be the one that answers this. But he wants to know, why can't Cherie plant Brendan's DNA?
Well, the thing is that Brendan only came into the picture very, very late, right? So when they were examining the crime scene and taking swabs, etc., they only found Stephen's DNA, right?
Yep.
They never found Brendan's. Brendan wasn't even thought of, right? No one thought that Brendan Dassey was going to be involved in this. So after Brendan basically walked into the bear trap, it was too late. They'd already done all the swabbings. They checked the RAV4. They checked the inside of Stephen Avery's trailer, the garage, everywhere. They never found Brendan Dassey's DNA, blood, sweat, semen, saliva, nothing.
And they can't say they didn't know about him. I've already showed this on a couple of weeks ago.
Correct.
They were well aware.
Oh yeah.
The 1st of November that he was there because it's in phone calls, and they
Correct.
listened to them.
Yep. So he wasn't a suspect, which meant that he never had to give. Didn't he have to give DNA or a swab much later?
After March 2nd.
Yeah, and by then everything was done. So now, if they suddenly find Brendan's DNA, it's going to look very, very suspicious, right?
You know, that brings up another point, you know, and I'm going to go a little off on a tangent here, but talking about fingerprints, the 8 latent lists out of the RAV, why didn't they check those against APHIS? And they didn't.
I have no idea. But those prints don't belong to Stephen. They don't belong to Brendan. The argument is, well, you know, they could be Teresa Hallbach's. They don't have her prints, of course. So
right.
They're not going to pursue it. And that brings up a very important point before we continue. I've had a lot of arguments with state advocates that go, well, how come they never planted Teresa Hallbach's DNA, right? Say in the trailer or in the garage. And the answer is they never had her DNA until much later, right? So here's the problem. You go into a crime scene, you do all the swabbing, you come back and you get the results and you go, no, we got no idea who this DNA is, right? Then when Fassbender gets the pap smear, then they extract pure genomic DNA from Teresa and say, oh, okay, these items that were in the RAV4, the blood, the saliva that was on the cherry Pepsi can, they belong to Teresa Hallbach. They never had Teresa Hallbach's DNA to plant. You get it, guys?
Well, yeah. Well, I mean, I think that brings up another interesting point, a lot that was talked about in the past. That, and I hate to be, I'm not trying to be gross or anything, but I think that if certain ones had access to her body, I think that there could have potentially been a bloodbath inside of his trailer. That's me personally.
Correct. You could only.
I can't prove that, of course, but
yeah, you could only prove. You could only plant what you've got.
That's right.
Didn't have Teresa Hallbach's DNA, right? None. And the fact that it's not even on her key, that's a worry.
What's telling?
Yeah, it is. Correct.
Okay. Anything else, Rhonda, before we get rolling here?
Nope, moving right along.
Alrighty, clip 7 coming up, and we're heading into Brendan territory now. So prepare yourself.
Showed that it was a voluntary statement, and that's ultimately what Judge Fox found.
It was decided that the March 1st confession was going to be allowed at trial.
this is what you can do. Either try and help yourself. You can do what's right, and I'll help you through this process, and you will not be doing life in prison.
I have a number of regrets. The worst regret was ever hiring Mike O'Kelly.
Yeah, right.
You're gonna have to forgive me, but I have to pause it here because don't you think, Lynn, your worst mistake was not defending your client instead of colluding with the state? I think it's the worst mistake you made, even though O'Kelly was a terrible one.
Yep.
This clip is from Cam Crockett.
Correct.
Yes, this clip is from Cam.
Everything is from Cam.
Correct. Yeah, none of this is from Making a Murder at all. Now, they may have used elements that they showed in Making a Murder in Cam, but we haven't. All right, here we go.
I hired Mike O'Kelly because I got to get an investigator for this case, and it's going to be hell of a time.
This is a lie. You can read the material yourself. He already had an investigator. I think his name was David, but I'd have to go back and check that. He hired Michael O'Kelly because O'Kelly said he would do the polygraph for $300, which is all the state would pay. That's right. And the ones in the area that he had called wanted $500. So that's a lie, but you can't be surprised. Okay, moving on.
I'm finding an investigator because this case is going to use a lot of time. But I decided, well, he's available, he wants to do it.
Just so you're perfectly clear, I want you to testify against Stephen Avery and tell the truth.
The sort of bizarre theatrics involved in all of that, in the absence of Brendan's attorney. Now, I was appalled. It almost seemed like a caricature of a bad interrogation.
And again, this was a planned event between Kaczynski and O'Kelly. That didn't come out at trial, of course, or in the pretrial, but it was revealed in the January 2010 hearings. This was all planned.
I think you have to add Kratz into that plan. Why does Kaczynski need to get another confession from Brendan? Why?
Well, because Kratz wanted to clean. He wanted to clean 1 or 2 pages. Right, Doc, go ahead.
Yep. So essentially, the whole idea was all the crap that Brendan was telling the investigators, Fassbender and Uyghur, was all over the place. It was contradictory. It didn't make any sense. It was really, really bizarre. So what he wanted to do was, okay, here's what we're going to do. You get your client to do another interview, a 1 or 2 page summary, get Brendan to testify against his uncle, and we'll do a plea deal. We'll give him 10, 15, maybe 20 years, but then we don't have to go the forensic route because the best witness to what happened to Teresa is right there, Brendan. No one else apart from Stephen. Stephen never said he did anything wrong. So hence, the star witness is Brendan. But Brendan is not a witness. He's a co-conspirator. So they got to cut a deal. So do a 1 or 2 page confession. We did this, this, and this to Teresa Horbach. Thank you. I accept the plea deal, 15, 20 years. Thank you. Done. Don't have to go to court. Don't have to go to trial. Boom. Done. Except he didn't play along. He didn't. No. Brendan didn't play along.
No.
Correct.
Go on, Susan.
I mean, Kaczynski says we did this for ourselves, not for the prosecution. Give me a break.
Oh, the internal use only?
Yeah. Well, for what?
Right. Why would you need that?
It's such a joke.
It should be.
And horrible. It's so sad.
He was mentally torturing Brendan Dassey. That's abuse right there.
Yeah.
Are you sorry you did it? Or are you not sorry you did it? Kaczynski, O'Kelly. Well, I think they became very sorry they did it because they got caught and called out. It should be noted as well, there's still a huge amount of material that O'Kelly he didn't turn over to Kaczynski. and he did away with it. When they got after him, when I went after him, he did away with it.
He did.
Yep. So, okay, before my blood pressure gets any higher, let's move on. Let's move on.
Do you want to get out and have a family someday? That means you have to cooperate with me and help me work with you.
When the investigator O'Kelly talked to Dassey shortly after the motion to suppress was denied, that was all for our own internal use. It wasn't something.
Seriously, exactly what you just said, Susan. That son of a bitch.
Give me a break.
Something that we taped and was going to turn over to the prosecution.
Right.
Can you believe that? Can you believe that? And of course, right, what we discovered is that both Kaczynski and O'Kelly were providing hints to the state on where to find forensic evidence against
constant communication. They copied each other on everything.
Yep, correct. So this is an example of your defense team working with the state in order to convict you.
That's right.
I've never seen that.
Plus, he got him to interview with Fassbender and Wiegert again the same day.
That was all O'Kelly and Kaczynski. That was all planned.
Yes.
And that's when Kaczynski didn't show up and then eventually got booted out.
Yeah, but unfortunately, that took 5 months. And there was so much damage done. Well, I take that back. It was actually, by the time he got booted out, it was from May until May 13th was the day of the event, and it was August 26th or 7th, I think that Fox removed him. So from May until August.
But he didn't remove him the first time, did he, guys?
No.
Remember when Brendan said, "Look,"
yeah,
and he goes, "Why do you want to remove your attorney?" Because he thinks I'm guilty.
Thinks I'm guilty.
What better reason is
because
there
he thinks I'm guilty
to remove a defense attorney? I mean, come on.
The only reason.
That is a reason.
That's the number one reason.
Yes. A great answer. Oh, I just don't see it.
You could not make this up. You could not make this up, honestly.
Really?
No. So when it's very, very simple when you think about it. When Kaczynski came in, he was talking more to the press than what he was talking to his own client. And he'd already come up with the conclusion, right, guys? My client is guilty. How am I going to minimize the damage for him? Instead of saying, I'm going to defend my client, he came in with the mindset, no, Brendan's done. Brendan's done. And that's it. That's why it went pear-shaped very, very quick.
Well, I mean, Kaczynski went on radio or whatever. He had him convicted before he ever talked to Brendan.
And,
Correct.
In that phone call to his mom, like he said, they asked me if I wanted to have a family someday. I mean, he repeats this stuff, right, that Kelly's telling him. O'Kelly,
yeah.
And Fassbender and Wiegert, it's like, if I don't come out with it, I'm going to get 90 years. And if I come out with it, 20 or, I mean, he believed that stuff.
Of course he did. He was just a slow child at that.
Yeah.
Yes. I was going to answer Brooke. Nothing happened to O'Kelly. I only got a slap on the wrist, right, guys? Right, Jax. This one. We did those.
O'Kelly is still out there.
Yeah, nothing happened. Nothing happened to O'Kelly.
Nothing
He's
happened to
a cell phone expert. He's an expert in this and that.
Well, he's a human lie detector, according to him.
Correct.
And for Kaczynski, I think he lost his bar card for 4 months. I think that's right. Does that sound right, Doc?
Yeah, and he also did he go to prison for stalking or for one of the females? He was acting like a cat.
Yeah, Mr. Meow.
Yeah.
To one of
Meowing.
The receptionist or something.
Assistant, or Some girl in
That's
his
what
office.
James Crane just said. Cat calls with an assistant when he was
Correct.
judge. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think he
He
was.
also would email her. And
Yes, he would. That's
He
right.
was-
He
he was-
a
emailed
lot
her.
of creepy stuff.
So
Yeah.
perverted. I don't. Oh God, I can't even deal with him.
Well, it's kind of that's why I kind of wonder about it, because this is kind of all a kind of a trigger warning in so many different ways with this guy. It's just it's so weird. But at the end of the day, there's no one that can't say that they didn't collude with the state. And I just don't understand how Fox can just ignore that. I just don't. Because
His
this
trial,
is
it should have been thrown out.
it should have been thrown out completely.
Duke is correct. Brendan was convicted the day Kratz gave his disturbingly detailed. Yep.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
No more presumption of innocence.
So was Stephen.
They were both
So was
toast.
Stephen.
Yeah, they were done.
Done. Correct.
Well, I think we may even have already played it, or maybe it's coming up in one of the clips about Kratz saying he should have just. I think it's the last one of the when we covered episode 8. He said, it was a mistake. He shouldn't have done the press conference. Should have just released the indictment, whatever. But he knew what he was doing.
That indictment did not have to be a book, a story that Kratz told. He's like, it would all be in there anyway. No, you don't have to put all of that, his sweaty uncle and his, that doesn't have to be in an indictment.
The descriptors.
Correct. But basically, Kratz had one chance to dethrone Stephen Avery, and that was then and there with that press conference. He had to remove any form of sympathy for Stephen, and he had to be
for the 85 case. Yeah,
he had to be very, very brutal. And if you look at Convicting a Murderer, they spent 4 episodes completely tearing Stephen apart because they did the same thing. They dehumanized Stephen to the point of, see, he did this, he committed the murder, look at this. And yet, isn't it interesting? Had Candace or Brenda put on the spotlight on Chuck Avery, Earl Avery, do you think Earl would have been a spokesperson on Convicting a Murderer with what he did in his past?
No. Well, it was actually not that far past, because Earl had an incident August of 2018, right when they started filming.
Yep.
That's not known either. They didn't talk about that. I mean, I don't know when they filmed his clips, but that was around the time they started filming. I do know that.
Yep. Correct.
Okay. Rhonda, any other questions we need to address before we move on? Comments, whatever?
Nope.
All right.
We're moving along quite good.
Yeah, we are. I'm fixing to pop on here. This is clip number 8. Here we go.
After you listen to the Avery prison phone calls, that the family is, I would say, primarily concerned with Stephen Avery's case over Brendan's.
That's such bullshit.
They come down on you. I don't give a shit what they do. You're going to have to be man enough right now. And you stick to your goddamn guns. And say nothing happened. They made me say all of this. Tell them that.
Essentially, they don't want Brendan to take the plea deal because they're worried about how that might impact Stephen Avery's case.
Oh,
You're a young man, and you don't want to go to prison for the rest of your life. No. Don't go for a pre-bargain or this and that. Because you do that, then you're hurting both of you guys.
He chose to listen to that and not accept the pleas.
Brendan did renege and completely change his story back to he was just at the fire and how.
Because he's innocent?
Well, he started recanting as soon as Barr walked in the room on March 1st.
Yep.
He sure did.
That got to my head. You see,
why wouldn't the family back him? They believe
Of
he's
course.
innocent too.
Of course.
My God. Why would they want him to take a 15, 20-year plea deal when he didn't frickin' do anything?
And he'll be a registered sex offender.
For life, probably.
As a virgin.
Yeah,
Correct.
as a virgin.
Immaculate. Well, I guess it wasn't conception, but
Yep. Nah.
yeah.
It got to me. It goes to show the insanity. Out of all the options, there was no option. I'm innocent, right? It's the degree of how guilty I am, rather than saying I didn't do it. And did you notice Brendan Dassey's responses to his grandfather? Yeah, no discussion. No, that's how Brendan. That's Brendan. That's him. That's how he is.
The fact that they're trying to turn this all on Stephen, you know, and they like Stephen more, so they're really, you know, they don't care if Brendan's thrown under the bus. No. You know, don't hurt your uncle. That's total bullshit. The family believed they were both innocent, and that's why you don't take a freaking plea deal.
That's right.
Correct.
And to answer Double D's question about if we have that phone call, we do not. As far as I know, we do not. I don't think I've ever heard it in our playlist. And every call that we have is in the playlist. Every call. I can't. I don't. I'm not saying I haven't heard it. I just don't remember hearing it. I can check the summary, see if I can find it. We do have a summary. So I can see if I can find it, and it's so Double D, one way or the other, I'll make sure that is linked to you.
Wasn't that played in Making a Murderer, at least part of it, where Alan is telling him, or I remember hearing that.
I feel like it was. I just don't remember when.
I'm pretty sure it was.
That one specific bit where Alan's telling him, if you didn't do it, don't say that you did do it. You know what I mean? That is definitely in Mom. Definitely.
Yeah. So, you know, here's the issue. Say both of them are innocent. Say both of them are innocent. If Brendan goes for a plea deal, he goes, what's the lesser of two evils? I stay in prison for 90 years for something I didn't do, or I stay in prison for 40 years for something I didn't do. You know what I mean? Yeah. If he then goes for a plea deal and says, yeah, okay, I did it, then that automatically puts his uncle in the ringer as well, saying, okay, well, if you just admitted you did it, that means that your uncle did it too, right? Well, I guess so. Boom, done. But if you're
that's why they wanted him to take it, so Crass could put him on the stand.
Boom. So if you're innocent, are you now going to go for a plea deal for something you didn't do? A horrendous rape, torture, shooting, dismemberment, and cremation. A 16-year-old kid did all of that and just watched his uncle and helped his uncle? I don't think so. You're not going to say you did that when you never did any of that. And that's why I believe when he rang his mum, Barb, and she asked him, did you do it? And he said, some of it. Yes, he did some of it. He went and helped his uncle clean the garage and throw rubbish on the fire, right? Yeah. And I think there was a call. Do you remember, guys, when he spoke with Candy, who said, how many years am I going to get? And she said, for what? For helping my uncle clean the garage. He thought he was going to go to prison for helping his uncle clean the garage. That's how spooked he was.
Yeah, he absolutely had no idea.
Nope. None. And in the there's another call he did, I think the day after, where Barb flat out asked him, goes, did you sexually assault Teresa? You know, goes, no. So he's telling his mother one day after, no, I never did any of this.
Right. Yeah, I'm just doing a quick scan of.
They had him convinced if he didn't say what they wanted to say, he'd do 90 years.
Correct.
Or get called a liar. You know, you're just lying. Brendan, are you sure?
Correct. And he was accused of smoking crack. Is that correct as well?
He was.
He was.
Jesus.
Yep.
They tried to tell, is it Barb?
Barb.
They told
Yeah.
Barb?
That's right. All right. Any other comments, questions before we move forward? I think we're at clip 9 coming up.
Awesome.
We good?
Keep on going, yep.
Yeah, let's
All
go.
right. Here we go.
Never forget him describing his uncle wanting him to get some and him admitting that he did this. What was the motive of a 16-year-old kid? Well, his motive was that he wanted to know what it felt like.
He told me that's how you do it, and
what else?
That it feels. He asked me if it felt good.
It's difficult to stomach. We're talking about a 16-year-old virgin, really. And his uncle egged him on, and his uncle watched, and his uncle was proud of him.
If what Brendan Dassey said happened, if he was actually able to leave and go over to his trailer and go back, if that indeed happened, yeah, he could have been a hero.
Yeah, I knew Brendan enough to know that he knew right from wrong. He knew the right decisions to make, could have saved her, and didn't, chose not to.
Instead of receiving the thanks from the Hallbacks, he's receiving thanks from Stephen Avery. Attaboy, that's how you do it.
He wasn't with Stephen anymore. He was back home, and he still didn't do it.
He was the one person that could have saved her. But he wanted to know what sex felt like. And that's why my friend is dead.
Oh boy.
Yeah, interesting that they put Candace, propped her up in that soft interrogation room.
Yeah, isn't it?
So tasteless. Now, that was tasteless.
Yeah.
I told you guys before, as soon as I saw her in there, what I saw was Jody sitting there and then playing the call for Jody of Debbie Klemp, trying to piss her off. That's what I saw immediately. I'm thinking, what in the hell are you people doing? That's me.
Correct. So I think if I could just quickly comment, as an emotional clip, how powerful is that? So if you're sitting on the fence, not guilty, maybe guilty, if you see that, it just pulls you apart, right? So what they're saying is this: Brendan Dassey raped Teresa Halbach in front of his uncle. In front of it, could you imagine the horror of that bedroom if that really happened? So Brendan Dassey allegedly rapes Teresa Halbach, and Fassbender and we get questioned him, goes, how long did you have sex for? He goes, 5 minutes. And they said, then what did you do? I stopped. And they said, why? And he goes, I don't know.
I don't know.
No presence of semen, ejaculation, urine, pubic hair, nothing. Zero. And not only that, notice what they cleverly did. They got the emotional response by saying he could have been a hero. But he chose to, and even his poor mum said the same thing. Because now what they're saying is this: he went over to the trailer once, raped Teresa Halbach, kept his mouth shut, went home. No one picked up anything weird, strange, or different in Brendan. And then Brendan Dassey returned for the part 2, getting rid of the body.
Yeah.
Can you believe this guy? He's just committed rape. The guy was a virgin. He still is.
Right.
He's committed atrocity on a 25-year-old woman. in front of his uncle who said, "Attaboy." And then he goes home. No one
Well,
detects.
first they watched a little TV and had a soda.
They do watch TV and have soda, correct. Correct.
And then, then he goes home to his mother and his brothers.
Correct. And no one picks it up. No one picks up anything. And then he goes back and he's involved in getting rid of Teresa Halbach.
Yeah.
And everyone's meant to believe it as though Brendan Dassey is now Buffalo Bill and Hannibal Lecter all rolled into one in one day. He goes from a normal kid to a rapist and a murderer and then goes home. No one picks up anything nefarious. The next day, goes to school. Guys, how does that happen? How does that happen?
Nothing happens for 4 months, 5 months, whatever it was.
Yep, that's right.
And Brendan supposedly is living with this knowledge? No.
No.
No, I don't believe it. I just don't. I understand there's people out there that do, but I just don't.
A kid that's never been in trouble, as far as I'm aware, with law, with his teachers at school.
No.
He loves being by himself and playing video games, according to his dad, his brothers. And now he's crossed over because his evil uncle made him rape a 25-year-old woman.
And like Duke says, he goes home in between and Teresa's still alive, supposedly.
Yes. And mind you, sorry, Susan, she's got no gag. So she can freely scream. And you're thinking, wait a minute, this cannot be right. This cannot be right.
It's not right.
No.
How anyone can believe this, that Brendan did anything, just boggles the mind.
I don't even think we have to take a poll in chat. I don't think anyone can seriously say, yeah, he did it. Because it's completely insane.
Well, there's some out there that guilty, innocent guilty sub on Facebook. They certainly believe it. They're
Cam believes it.
Yes.
Brenda believes it.
Yep.
Sean Reck believes it.
Yes. Yep.
Right.
It's just mind-boggling.
Yep. That's Bob.
Hey, Barb. Yes,
Barb
I
here?
know. Nothing
Hey.
happened in that trailer. I believe you. I believe him.
Yep. 100% correct.
Okay. Any other comments? We're ready for clip number 10.
Roll on.
Yeah, let's go, guys.
Rolling. Clip 10.
Is an accurate title. It is. But it was Stephen Avery making Brendan Dassey into a murderer. That to me is one of the more tragic things about this. That you had a kid who followed his uncle into the gates of hell.
Notice those eye movements at the end. He's pretty spastic anyway, in my opinion.
It's like a cartoon or something.
Well, he's pretty ramped up, pretty much all the time. But those eye movements at the end were a little different. But yeah, I mean it's along the same lines. You know, they're tearing Brendan down. Yeah,
which is very interesting, right? Because this is the scenario they've gone with. Stephen is the evil uncle, and he manipulated Brendan into committing all these horrendous acts, right?
Right.
Yet, when we criticize Fassbender and we get of manipulating Brendan into coercing him, no. What does Fassbender and we get say? He knows right from wrong.
That's right.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, his mother's good teaching just flew out the window and he's now going to become a rapist and a murderer. No.
That's right, Barb. Brendan confessed to you because that's what I mean. You can. Everybody can watch the that May 13th interview and what they did to him, and they walked in there wanting this clean confession, and they walked out. It was even more confusing.
Right after O'Kelly had a hold of him.
That's right. The day before.
Told him he flunked his lie detector test. And
that's right. He did.
Made
he lied
him
to him.
Confess again. Yeah.
I mean, what in what planet can that be really? I mean, to me, legal. I guess it is because O'Kelly didn't get in any trouble, but I imagine a lot of people look at him with a side glance now. At least anybody that knows all the story.
Well, we know one other lawyer that hired him and fired him.
Yeah, we do. Yep. That was Nicole's case.
Yeah. Nicole Bacchus.
Yep. Well, he had for those that don't know, he had a couple other cases. There was one here in Michigan that he tried to charge that county just a ridiculous amount of money. I think the judge cut it to, I think he wanted something like, I want to get this wrong, but I think he had turned in for like $105,000. He didn't even testify either of everything he had done. I think she capped it at $15,000. And said that's all you're getting. There was another case in Texas. I think it was separate from the one from Nicole's case that he tried to turn in some ridiculous amount of money. And they clipped him. And in Nicole's case, correct me if I get this wrong, Susan, despite being told not to go talk to these people, O'Kelly did it anyway.
Yeah, in Nicole's case?
Yes.
And something to do with something about cell phone records.
Yeah, I can't remember that part.
He wanted to pursue them, and the lawyer told him, no, I don't need you to do that. And he insisted on doing it.
Yeah, he did it anyway.
And that's when he got fired.
Yeah.
He said he was just the weirdest guy. I mean, we all know that.
I can believe it.
Yeah.
Correct.
I can believe it.
But just getting back, now we know why they can't let Brendan go. Now we know they can't let him go, because if Brendan is released and he starts talking to the media that he was coerced, he never did anything, he never saw his uncle do anything, that's going to cause a domino effect, right, on Stephen. It's going to put a lot of pressure on the Attorney General. Hey, what's going on here, right? So Brendan very much is a political prisoner of the state, and now he's reliant on, I think, Governor Evers to pardon him.
Yeah. Anthony Hill's got a question. Rhonda?
Yeah, well, I think Anthony was late, so he didn't hear us discuss this in the beginning. But if we don't get to your question right after you put it on the screen, I'll post your question. But if it's not part of the exact topic that we're speaking about, I will star it and we will come back to it after we're finished with the main topic of the podcast. Correct. But this is the question and that Anthony Hills was asking, and Duke said that he would answer it. But this is the question that Anthony Hills is asking, that I had starred for a later time, but here it is now.
Okay.
Says,
well, when do they take?
Go ahead. When do they take Brendan Blaine and Barb to Fox Hills? Should there be an audio for any Fox Hills interview legally?
Yes,
Barb's
they
in the
should.
chat, so she can answer that.
Yeah, they should be an audio because it was after the statute was passed. That anything. Yep. I guess they can say, well, we didn't really have an interview. Well, then it really makes sense.
Why is there a report on it then?
That's right. Why is there? They said that the recording equipment malfunctioned. It should have never been said if it wasn't some kind of interview. But that was February 27th, 2006.
I just to, kind of go off to my own case that I'm working right now. how many interviews, and Jack and Cherie, Kay, who's in the chat, I believe, Susan, you guys have all, Alice, you guys have all been through this. How many, with 13 alleged accusers in Daniel's case, how many do we not have a recorded interview for? And how many excuses were there for why there wasn't a recorded interview?
Oh my God, so many.
So I'm just, and I realize, states have different, laws or statutes or whatever. I understand that, but still, there's always going to be a reason why there wasn't a recording, just like within Daniel's case. So, and just, probably hundreds of other cases, honestly.
Well, I'm sure thousands.
Yeah. So yeah. And so, that's always going to be the main reason. Well, one is, we weren't expecting to be doing an interview at that moment. It just happened, or the equipment malfunctioned, and those are some of the excuses that we've gotten all the way through Daniel's case. And so,
I'm not very techno.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. So again, sorry to go to Daniel's case, but that's just another example of how they do this and how, some law enforcement and prosecutors work. Sorry.
Yep. No problem.
Wasn't the reason why they brought him to Fox Hill was because they feared for Brendan's life and safety, and that if he somehow got in contact with the family, they would dissuade him. And yet they kept him at Fox Hill for how many nights?
One night. Not even 12 hours. Not even 12 hours, I don't think.
Correct. Something's not right.
Well, yeah, they said that, that people on the Avery salvage yard found out that, Brendan was doing this talking, his life can be in danger or whatever. I don't buy that for 1 second. I'm sorry.
Barb also has said that they told him if they left Fox Hills, they would be arrested.
Oh.
Yep. That's right. She has said that.
Well,
that's custody.
Exactly. That is absolutely in custody for all of them.
That's custodial.
And Barb just said that last night in the chat. She just said it last night in the chat that they would be arrested if they left. So let's see what Barb Anna says. I don't remember any interview at Fox Hills. Wiegert paid for the room with his own credit card and took us to the room and told us if we left, they would arrest us. That is literal custody. You are in custody if you're being questioned and you haven't been Mirandized and they tell you you're free to go, you're not in custody. But even if there's not an interview, if they tell you that you can't leave where they've taken you or where you are technically, legally in custody. And that's infuriating to me.
Well, and that crosses another legal barrier. People don't understand that. That crosses another legal barrier when you say it's a non-custodial interview. That means you can get up and walk out at any time.
Mm-hmm.
When by telling her that if they left, they'd be arrested, that's custodial. That's just the way it is. And I think Travis will correct me if I'm wrong.
I bet they put somebody on that Fox Hills all night. Keep an eye on them.
They did too.
Yeah.
I've long suspected that any statements that were made were actually recorded. I can't prove that, of course, but I just, even back then, even with cell phones, there were ways to record. So anyway,
Absolutely, 314, that is a Fourth Amendment violation, and that is just one of what we talked about last night, a civil rights violation of.
That's right.
Of that could be taken up in a federal suit, where the law enforcement would lose their immunity or something like that.
Right.
But there had to be a reason why they had to insulate Brendan, right? Yeah. For one night. They were working on something that they needed to get everything down on paper, preserve what Brendan had told them, right? Because then you've got the, I think, March 1st interview as well, right? So, yeah, that's the big one.
Yeah.
Yeah, they were reviewing everything he told them, I'll bet you, on the
And I-
1st, or
and
on the 28th.
Yes.
I'm pretty
they
sure.
spent that day.
I'm pretty sure they put Stephen in isolation too
They did.
on the 27th.
Yes.
They isolated him
Yeah.
so he couldn't get phone calls or make any.
Right.
Said he was going to hurt himself or something.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Suicide watch.
Yep.
Yeah, so the 28th, they went over the 27th again because it was a lot and figured out where to go from there.
What was that question from Anthony?
Something to do about the Stephen Avery Act of 2003. Yeah, I'm not sure what happened.
Well, they changed the name.
Yeah.
They changed the name to, I don't remember exactly what it was, but it's still, the elements still remained. Whatever was in there. I don't think they changed much of anything else except the name. I remember diving pretty deep into that, actually.
Yeah, that
That's
was
been
passed
years
while
ago.
Stephen was in prison, not long
Yeah.
after
Yeah.
he was in prison.
Travis says, Barb, Anna, there are some references in DCI reports that they were asking Brendan questions over there.
At Fox Hills?
Yeah.
At
Yeah.
Fox Hills. Yeah. Yep.
There's a report about it. Yeah.
All right.
Okay, let's keep going, guys.
Are we've got anything else we need to cover before we move on? We're good.
Oh, go ahead.
We're good?
We're good.
We're good.
All right. This is clip 11. Here we go.
Interrogation that basically he was bullied and coerced and, force-fed information to, elicit a confession. I don't subscribe to that.
I want to address this right now before we move forward because I'll forget it if I don't. He just said he was bullied and blah, blah, blah. He wasn't bullied. They played mind games with him. They kept calling him a liar. That's not necessarily bullying someone, right? That's just, I had to say that because I knew I'd forget it. I didn't want
It's
to.
called the Reid technique.
That's right.
They're taught to do this.
Exactly. Anyway, let's get on with some more Rich Down here.
Barb
Brendan
says
was in-
she's going to ask Brendan tomorrow about Fox Hills.
Oh, awesome.
Okay. Awesome.
Thanks,
Good.
Barb.
Yeah, see what he can remember. That'd be great. All right, here we go.
In that room with him, he had his job to do. It wasn't to babysit Brendan.
The officers were gathering information about a really serious crime.
They were
from
doing
somebody
more
who
than
was
that.
a witness, and during the course of the interview, became a suspect. What were they supposed to do? Were the cops supposed to stand up and stop and say, wait a second, Brendan, you're making admissions now. You're implicating yourself in these crimes. That's nonsense.
Yes, they were.
No cop's ever going to do that. No cop
Can you
should
pause?
ever have to do
Yeah,
that.
sorry. I'm so sorry.
You can't criticize.
No,
No
it's
problem.
okay.
No, go ahead.
It's okay. I agree. I mean, but the fact that everything Brendan was telling them they knew the trailer was clean. They knew the garage was clean. They knew there was no evidence whatsoever of what he's telling them. Yeah, they should stop and say,
Would you
What do
like
you say?
Would you like to consult an attorney?
Yeah.
Start.
That question should have at least been asked. Hold on a minute. Well, but if they were going to do that, though, let's face it, they would have never been in there feeding him information anyway. I don't give a shit what Candace Owens or Brenda, whatever her name is. I don't care what anybody else says about Brendan's quote unquote confession. That was coerced. I don't care how they want to look at it, how they want to see it. It's bullshit. It was coerced. He was fed every ounce of information. And then he just went off of what they told him to create. This is stuff we've talked about a million times. But but Wiegert and Fassbender, I'm getting tongue-tied. It's pissing me off so bad. Wiegert and Fassbender should have, had that been a legitimate interrogation without coercion, and Brendan or the suspect started telling information like that, absolutely, they have some sort of duty, I would think, to say, hey, before you go any further, I just want to remind you of your rights to legal representation if you want it. Do you still want to talk to us? I could be wrong. Sapper is going to be a better person, but
it should be the law that
it should
they
be a
require
law,
an attorney. Yeah.
especially with a juvenile who, I don't care what they say, it was a juvenile that did not understand his rights, even though he said he did. He just knows that's the way you're supposed to answer it. Do you understand these rights as I've read them to you? Yes. He doesn't know
He's
he can
not going to say,
no.
no, I'm stupid. He might say that to
Yeah.
his mom,
He
but
said
he's
that
not
to
going
his
to say
mom.
that.
He said that to his mom,
Yeah,
though.
but he's not
Mom,
going to
you
say
know
that
I'm
to the cops. Yeah.
Yep. Correct.
Yeah, and 4 federal judges, I'll just remind us all.
Yeah. Yes.
Said
Yep.
that he was coerced.
Yep.
Yes.
And Judge Duffin at the start. Correct.
Yep.
Well, yeah, he's the one that had the actual balls to stand up and say, yeah, you know what? This don't look good, guys.
No.
What are you doing?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's
Oh,
not
yeah.
like coerced confessions don't happen. We see them
Yes.
every day. We see
Yes.
people getting out of prison after years and years and years.
Decades.
Decades
Yeah.
30 years.
from coerced
30
confessions. It happens all the time.
And
Yes.
not only that, Susan, but not always to individuals who were children during the time of their
Yes.
coerced confession.
Casey's
So it can
client
even happen to adults.
Casey's client that was accused of killing his daughter. He
Yes.
falsely confessed to that.
Yes.
He did get out finally because of DNA. They found the actual killer, I think, didn't they?
Yeah, they did. That was a sad, sad case. Oh, that was sad.
Yes. And he ended
There was
Riley.
right.
There was
Yeah.
one here. There was one here in Michigan last week that a guy was convicted in 80. I want to say 87. It was right in the time where DNA, where they were just really starting to get their act together. 35, 36 years he'd been in, and they tested some items that were still preserved. It wasn't him. So 3.5 decades, this guy spits. He said all along he didn't do it.
Yeah.
We had one in our while it was in St. Lawrence County last year that, just like Brendan, they had him in jail for murder for 3 weeks, and luckily our current prosecutor has a conscience, and they found evidence that somebody else did it and had committed another similar murder, and they let him go. But he was slow like Brendan, so it was scary, but he lucked out.
Yep. The same thing happened to Matt Livers as well. After 14 hours of interrogation, he confessed to killing his aunt and auntie and uncle, and he implicated his cousin as well. They were both charged for double homicide, and neither of them were at the actual crime scene.
Horrible case. Horrible case.
Terrible case. Correct.
That Reid technique works. If you want wrongful convictions, man.
Well, that's the whole idea about the Reid technique is to get a statement. That's what it's all about, to get a statement, and that's what they drive towards.
Correct.
And they don't care how they get. They don't care how they get it.
They don't take no for an answer.
No.
And Anthony Hills is correct. It did start at Crivets. Correct. With Detective O'Neill.
Yes.
Detective O'Neill believed that Brendan Dassey was hiding stuff. I remember Brendan changed his narrative twice based on the false information provided by Lisa Buchner, the bus driver. Disaster.
I listened to that interview again very recently, and after, oh gosh, now I can't remember, after like a half an hour or whatever before the Buckner information came in, he's like, okay, good, we're gonna take you back to your house. We got to take the car. And then he comes in, then the other guy comes in and brings that information in, and
correct. That was
that's
Kim
when I'll-
Skolinski. That was Kim Skolinski who
Yeah.
tapped on the glass, got O'Neill out, and told him about the bus driver, what the bus driver said on the Saturday, and then suddenly O'Neill goes, "This guy's hiding something. Let's nail him now."
Yep.
Yep, that's right.
Everything changed.
Yep.
All right.
That's when
guys
they
ready to-
stop believing him with false information.
That's it, with false information. Correct.
That's right. All right, you guys ready to move on?
Yeah.
Yes.
I'll back it up just a tick here, and we'll continue on.
No cop should ever have to do that.
You can't criticize law enforcement for actually doing the things they are trained to do. That's what they do. You know, if people don't think that's the way it should happen, then we're having a much broader conversation about whether police should be able to lie to suspects or be able to interrogate suspects or do certain things. But that's a whole separate issue. That's a policy issue.
Take
Not
the
really.
need for reform when it comes to juvenile.
See, I have to disagree with him completely. I
These
know you do too,
cops-
Susan.
Yeah, these cops know. They know they're coercing. Yes, they're trained to do it, but they know they can get a false confession from it.
Well, I mean, is it the goal to get the truth? So you're going to lie, especially to us. I mean, you know, I guess it's a bit different when you're talking to a seasoned criminal. And they're going to play games, but they knew that Brent was a slow, introverted child. They knew that.
And they took advantage of that.
They did. They did. All right, I'll back
That's
it.
just a cop out right there.
I agree.
Shit.
Take the need for reform when it comes to juvenile defendants away. You still have someone who confessed to a homicide.
I was off the case in August of 2006. Mr. Dassey's trial was in 2007 with a different set of attorneys.
In March of 2007, I had made that last offer to his then attorney, Mark Fremgen. Fremgen told me that it was really the family's interference that led Brendan to rejecting the 15-year deal that I had made at the end.
The only plea that Brendan at that time would have accepted would have been 10 years or less. And that wasn't something that the state or the judge would have, they felt, agreed to. Fremgen replied to Kratz, "My limited dealings with this family is that they do not trust anyone from outside and that they naively believe that simply saying, 'I did not do it,' is enough to convince any 12 jurors that one is innocent. It is understandable that a man-child such as Brendan may have misplaced notions and beliefs, and Ray and I could likely deal with that, but Barb and the rest of the clan have infected Brendan in this case to the point that there is no reasonable offer that will be considered. Short of finding Brendan incompetent, we must accept his decisions. You know, it's not our choice. It's what he wants."
Attorneys hammered him with cross-examination. If anything, those attorneys on the stand treated him worse than
Not really.
Oh, shit.
Oh, God.
And I don't think I've ever seen that letter from Fremgen. I don't think we have that.
I haven't,
I haven't seen that before. Mm-mm.
Terrible.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, they expect Brendan, what they say in this camp, they expect Brendan to make the decision about his life. Why, you know, the family's giving him advice. That's so wrong. You know?
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
It happens happens all the time.
And the poor kid's innocent. The poor kid is innocent.
Yeah.
And in this country, so many innocent people take plea deals.
Yep.
Yes.
Because they don't want to face a jury.
Well, they can't. They
don't
they
trust the system.
they don't have a public defender that gives a damn, has time. That's another big problem. It's not that a lot of them don't care. It's just that they're so overloaded, they can't devote enough time to properly defend
Right.
them or the
Right.
resources. So
Right.
they're screwed, and they know it.
Yeah. Yeah. If you're charged and you're innocent, in this country, you are fucked.
Pretty
I
Oh.
mean, for the most part,
Absolutely.
unless you got
Unless you
video
have money.
evidence or
Well,
or
yeah.
a lot of money. Yep, that helps a
Or
lot.
what? That's right.
Correct. And Travis makes a very interesting comment. And Anthony Hills had a question. Jack 61, you might be able to answer that one. That call, remember that call that came through, the DA?
What does the panel think about the Madison DA calls the dispatch desperate to talk to Rohr about the Halbach missing? What day was that call? Kim Skurlinski name is mentioned. Yeah, that was the early evening of November 5th, 2005. That was around 7:30 p.m.
The
That
day
was
the Rab was found. He wasn't a
yeah,
DA, was he?
he was an
He
assistant
was.
attorney general.
Yeah.
That was Frey. I'm gonna get his. Yeah, Freymiller or Freyberg or something like that.
Yeah.
He said he had talked to Skurlinski and that he needed to talk to Rohr. You could clearly tell he was amped up about something when we have no idea. Yeah, we have no idea what that's about.
I bet you it was about the bus driver. That's the same day that the bus driver talked to I think it was, she talked to the bus driver, gave a statement on the Monday to Mark Uyghur, but she gave a statement on the Saturday regarding about the school kids seeing and her watching a photographer take pictures. Could be that.
Interesting.
Oh, I think it was about Stephen Avery.
Okay.
Stephen Avery had the lawsuit. It was his, where he lived. He dealt with her that day. I think it had to do with Stephen.
Okay.
Yeah,
Just
unfortunately,
my opinion.
Yeah, we just don't have anything from Skurlinski to try to close that loop up and find out what that was about. We just and of course that assistant attorney general didn't say. I'm sure he did to Rohr, but he's not gonna admit to it. Okay, Travis's comment. Susan?
I think that was. It says question. Barb was asking earlier what's in the reports about Brendan being questioned at Fox Hills, whether it's classified as an interview, talking, or anything. I think that was us, the panel and the chat, that were asking what had he been questioned while they were at Fox Hills or not.
Fox Hills. Yep.
And,
Can't remember which report number that is, but I'm sure we can probably run that one down, Travis.
Yeah. Yeah. I can't recall it off the top of my head.
I think we've got 2 more clips, Jack 61, and we're done.
That's right.
Do it.
Yep. Awesome.
Rock and roll, and then we'll get some starred questions after we're done.
Absolutely. Awesome. All right. This is going to be clip number 12. Here we go.
Or nothing defense, requiring us to contest the statement, try to convince the jury the statement was not believable.
Quite honestly, they don't have much to work with. When Brendan had a chance to explain to the jury why he allegedly gave this false confession, many times all he could respond with was, I don't know.
I didn't expect any of this to be coming up years later and having millions of people
I'm sure you
look
didn't.
at this case.
Can you pause that for a
To the
second,
people that
Jack?
argue,
Sorry.
No problem.
That is exactly, in my opinion, it's been my opinion from the beginning, that is exactly why they thought they could do what they did to Stephen and to Brendan. They never thought they were going to have to defend it in the future.
Correct.
And hence why they're going so hard on Ma'am.
And do you know why I think Brendan said on the stand, I don't know? Because he really didn't know why he lied that way. He didn't know he was being coerced. He didn't understand why he lied like that.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. Why would he ask after this is all done? He's like, is this going to take all day? Basically, I need to get back to 6th period.
Correct.
He had no clue what he had done.
Yeah.
Oh, I did not know that, Barb. That's not some. I don't know if anybody else knew it, but I sure didn't. Barb says, I tried to get Brendan an attorney. Chuck took me to Milwaukee to see Robert Dvorak, but he wanted $150,000 down, and of course she didn't have that. And then who of us would? Well, I mean,
and well, that's a down payment. That's not.
Yeah.
The full thing.
That's just a retainer.
That's a retainer. Yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry about. I didn't know that.
I didn't either. I mean, I knew. I remember. I do remember a phone call about. Barb was talking about going to see a lawyer, but there was not a lot of details. But I remember one call or so, something long time ago. Anyway.
Sorry.
Any other? No. You're fine. Any other comments we can address right quick before we move? I'll back this up a little bit.
No, I just wanted to say, Cherie have posted a few articles, links to articles that Kahuna had suggested. So if you want to take regarding the Reid technique, if anybody wants to look at those.
Correct.
Okay. All right. I'll back this up a little bit and we'll continue.
This case.
To the people that argue that the whole interrogation of Brendan was unfair, he was being coerced, it was all suggestive, all those things, that's something that gets brought out at Brendan's trial.
If it's so suggestive and so one-sided and it wasn't voluntary at all, then presumably the jury would have noticed that and they would have found him to be not guilty. But they didn't. They found Brendan.
They didn't see the entire thing. They cut an hour and a half, or hour and 35 minutes out of it, Candace.
But you don't know that, do you, Candace?
Did they also hear the school questioning and the 27th? Did the jury get to see all of them?
No.
You gotta watch it. You gotta know from the beginning.
She doesn't know that.
With Brendan. No, she doesn't.
No.
And
she's into a whole other heat.
Presumably the jury would have seen that. Give me a break, Candace.
Yeah, she is
She has no clue.
No.
She's stupid.
All right, here we go. I'm not replaying Candace either.
Dassey to be guilty.
My position now and then was that he was over-sentenced. When they said he wasn't going to be eligible for release until 2048, I remember my jaw dropped. I couldn't believe it. I just thought, how do you throw away a 16-year-old for that long? But I also think the truth matters.
So we're all playing Monday morning quarterback now, not having heard as much of the evidence as the jury did, and that's what the jury found.
A jury found Stephen and Brendan guilty based on all the evidence, not just portions of cherry-picked evidence that making a murderer chose to show.
That's a lie.
What a lying piece of shit, man.
They did not see all the evidence. They did not.
Dickhole. Oh, mute front.
They didn't see the VLCD. They didn't hear the zipper voicemail.
Dozens and dozens of radio and dispatch calls I didn't hear, and some of them were very relevant. I'm not saying that 98% of them they were not, but there was about 2 or 3% that damn well were. And that's just the ones that we know about. We don't have anything from the 4th from Manitowoc, still to this day. Not one radio dispatch.
Correct. But you have to admit, it is very disturbing when Tom Fassbender goes, when they heard all of the evidence. Now, against Brendan, there was no, I know I keep on arguing the same point. There was no actual evidence, forensic evidence, tying Brendan Dassey to anything. No. So in essence, think about this, right? You're Brendan Dassey, you're sitting in your own trial, and you're having a mini trial of Stephen Avery all over again. Same people, same questions, same experts, and Brendan's going, when are they going to actually start pointing a finger at me? Right? They get Brendan on the stand. He looks at Tom Fallon directly in the eye. Nope, I didn't do this. Nope, I didn't do this. Kayla gets on the stand. She recants. No, we never talked about this, never talked about that. So in essence, you had a trial within a trial. Brendan said, I didn't do this. I don't know why I answered those questions. However, experts will say the Reid technique solicits answers, and someone of Brendan's character is very susceptible to suggestibility.
Highly suggestible.
Yeah. And as you said, Jack 61, he wanted to go back to school because look, I've got an assignment. Okay, I've just admitted to all of this, but surely what? 1 day jail, maybe. That's it. He had no idea he was going away for 41 years. 41.
He had no clue. He had no clue. You could tell he had no idea.
Correct.
There was a question there from Anthony. You just had a Rhonda. Cam podcast raises the issue about not finding Stephen's hair in Stephen's trailer. Opinion of this mute point, please.
No, but it's funny because they also found Stephen's own DNA on the cuffs and the leg irons, right?
Yeah.
So
He scoured. He scoured that trailer.
Yeah.
So much for cleaning, right? No, he didn't clean. Plus, he left his own blood on the door frames and on the bathroom and in the sink. He did no cleaning, right? There you go.
Dust on the headboard.
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct.
Well, yeah, there was.
Rodders, sorry.
No. I was just going to say that like I said last time, that trailer, it wasn't a pigsty, but it wasn't clean either. It just wasn't.
Well, you know, really, it wasn't in bad shape. It wasn't scoured.
No, I agree with you, 100%.
You know, I think Stephen liked to keep things neat. It
Yep.
appeared to me, except for maybe the spare bedroom. But that might have
Some
been after
clutter,
they went.
maybe?
Well, that
They
was a
went
junk.
through it.
Yeah, that was a junk room. Basically,
Yeah,
just piled of-
exactly. Exactly.
And-
I mean,
and,
you know,
Sorry.
it wasn't trash everywhere and just, you know, a mess like some men live.
Right.
Yeah.
But yeah, it wasn't a deep cleaning. It wasn't like it was deep cleaned, that place. No way.
And just to answer Rodder's question, did Brendan definitely play PlayStation 2? Brendan said that he did, but also his brother saw him play PlayStation as well. Blaine, I
that was
believe.
Blaine. Blaine said that.
Correct.
Because if I remember, they had a argument about who was going to get on the computer first or use the phone or something.
Yes, correct.
Okay. Barb had a comment here.
Barb did? I didn't see. Oh.
Brendan played PlayStation every day after school. To this day, he still plays games on the tablet that he has. Yep.
Right.
Sure.
And I think he even said what type of games that he enjoyed, the PlayStation 2 games that he enjoyed.
Yeah.
Right.
I don't think Rodders. That's what I was thinking. Gonna mention. I don't think that there was any forensic testing done.
No, they didn't
if I'm
look.
not mistaken. Yeah,
They didn't
there
look,
was no
as far as I
forensic
know.
testing done.
No.
Because they don't look because they don't want to find the truth.
Yeah, if they look and find out that actually happened, that kind of wrecks their story, right?
Kind of wrecks it for them. Yeah.
Correct.
Okay.
I think we got one more clip to go.
We have one more clip. This is the final one. All right.
Fantastic.
Here we go. Clip 13.
That you were able to tell the police officers, Mr. Fassbender and Mr. Uyghur, so much detail about what happened to Teresa if you weren't there?
I don't know.
What do you mean, sir? You don't know?
Sir, asshole.
I could have got it out of books.
At trial, when Brendan was asked questions regarding why he would tell officers that he was involved in Teresa's murder if he wasn't, he gave the explanation that he got the details from a book called Kiss the Girls.
What book that you read ever had the story of a woman chained to a bed, raped, stabbed, and then her body thrown on a fire? What book was that, sir?
I believe it was called Kiss the Girls.
But stabbing someone wasn't in Kiss the Girls. Shooting someone wasn't in Kiss the Girls. And I certainly don't recall burning a body and scattering the remains being a theme in Kiss the Girls. So are we talking about the same book?
Scattering the remains?
I can't stand that bitch. Oh my God.
That
sorry.
wasn't at trial. That wasn't at trial. Scattering the remains.
No. Well, it's a pile-on.
Yep, correct.
Yeah.
And if I could just add, right, I read I rechecked the book last night. Yes, there is stabbing, plenty of stabbing, and yes, there is shooting. And if you look at the film, the opening credits of the film is when you have images of people in a fire. And I'm not sure whether Barb is still in chat, but Barb actually asked Brendan, did you actually see the film? Did you actually read the book? And the correspondence I got from Barb was that Brendan actually saw Kiss the Girls, the film, before he was interrogated by Fassbender and Wiegert, which is very, very interesting because only in the film is there the hair cutting scene, not in the book. And one of the elements that Brendan told Fassbender and Wiegert was, yeah, we cut her hair, which is an element straight from the film, but not the book. So I believe from what Barb said, because Barb asked Brendan, he saw the film first, then read the book. So I don't know what Candace was talking about, because there's definitely shooting and there's definitely stabbing, because I checked last night, but there's no spreading of cremains in the book, right? But in the film...
Or the trial.
Or the trial.
Or the
Correct.
trial.
Correct. Whereas now, in CAM, they've now accepted that the bone fragments in the Manitowoc County gravel pit in 3 separate piles are now human. And we've been arguing for years that they're human. No. Now they're saying, yep, they're human. How do you work that one out?
It's right on what's her name's report.
In Eisenberg's own report.
Eisenberg's report.
Correct.
They're human.
Correct.
So,
correct.
Yeah.
So just getting back to that Kiss the Girls, I've done with Bron many years ago. We did I'm not going to go over it now. We did a podcast on it and a presentation on it. Just watch the film. You'll be shocked at the similarities of Brendan's narrative that he told Fassbender and Wiegert, and what Kratz repeated in the press conference. He essentially gave the narrative to Kiss the Girls, almost verbatim.
Crazy.
It is crazy.
All right. Well, it's time to get to some questions, guys. What do you think? We're not quite 2.5 hours in. Wow, we're making kind of a record here. Wow.
We've done well.
Very well. Yeah.
We made it through that full clip.
We've done. We've done them
all.
Awesome.
All the clips are done.
All of episode 9.
Awesome.
Woohoo!
Yeah.
Good job, guys.
Well, it's like I said yesterday. You know, we didn't cover every minute. There's just no way we can do that. I think it would be unfair. But I think we covered the bulk of the elements that were presented. I think so.
I do too.
Yeah, we did.
So,
okay, well, we'll start with, this is the last question, but the most recent, besides Anthony Hills, I'll back up to you in a second, Anthony. Danny Mellis asks, has there been anything in CAM that is new and damning, or is it just about character assassination? Can I answer first?
Yes.
To me,
go ahead.
What I watched
you go ahead, and then I've got something to add to that. Go ahead.
Okay. From what I did watch, I couldn't take anything past episode 4. It was just too much for me. But what I did watch and what we've talked about here as a panel in several episodes, it was all character assassination and prior bad acts and a ton of assumption and speculation, and we believe it may have been, and all that kind of shit. There was no evidence that I saw or I have seen yet that was something new that pertained to the murder of Teresa Halbach. That's all I have to say about that.
Okay, well, I'm just going to add my 2 cents as somebody, and this doesn't make me any kind of knowledge tree or brain or anything about the case. I'm just saying from my personal experience and looking at everything that we were able to get our hands on over the years, aside from some elements that got added in, and there were many of these, especially in the first, well, it actually happened kind of throughout all of it, but there were elements and statements that got added in beyond what we already knew. Like, I'll just pick one here. It's like when they were talking about this huge fire, the fire in the burn pit, and they were talking to Candy. She says, I looked out the window, and I saw that fire. Like, I guess she was at Dolores' house, Dolores and Alan, and I thought the house was going to melt. What they thinking? Why didn't the house melt? Well, I never heard her say that anywhere, ever.
No.
There were a number of these kinds of things that happened, just as Rhonda alluded to. For whatever reason, the bad blood exists with Earl. I'm sure I know why it exists with Candy. You know, they were, especially in the first 3-4 episodes, they were used and utilized extensively to talk about a lot of the early life. And there were some things that got exposed in that. I mean, I knew about it because, like I said, I'm not going to say I've read every word of every single thing, but I've read a lot over the years. I knew about this stuff. Did I think it was good? No, of course not. I think Stephen did some really terrible things. He said some really terrible things. That still doesn't equate to him something that happened in, when he was 20, 25 years old into a murderer in 2005. It makes him a dick, an ass, acting in ways that he shouldn't, that we wouldn't agree with as normal people. No. At the same time, they're trying to psychologically say, well, he did all this stuff in the 80s before, he got wrongfully convicted. I mean, he had to go to jail for his incident against Sandra, but then probably at least 12 extra years, maybe a little bit longer, depending.
He went to jail for other stuff, too.
He did. Did go to jail for other stuff. The burglaries that he did, him and whoever that other person was, I can't remember his name, that Alan had to get him out of a jam, and he did. All that stuff he shouldn't have done it. It was wrong. He should have went to jail. He should have paid the price. We don't agree with any illegal shit at all. At the same time, to come along and try to psychologically implant that in everyone and say, well, there you go. We're just showing you what man left out. He got whitewashed. And to a great degree, he did. Yes. When I watched Making a Murderer, I didn't come away feeling like that he was this great person. I didn't. Didn't impact me that way.
No. And
did you, Doc?
We said that to Brenda from day one.
That's right.
Remember? We said we're not defending his character. He deserved prison time. In fact, I even said I would have doubled the sentence. Right?
Oh, for the cat incident, absolutely. Even though he wasn't the one that actually threw the cat in the fire, he was still there and he participated, and he should have paid the price for that because that's cruel. Correct. You don't do that shit. You just don't. Nope. I don't care if you're drunk or not. You don't do it. Go Doc.
Okay. Did anybody else want to weigh in on that?
Am I still here?
Yeah, you're here.
Yep.
Okay.
You're here.
Okay. I'm going to finish up with what I was talking about with what did I learn from from Cam that I didn't already know? Nothing. Except for, again, these added statements. Andy Colburn says he adds in, this is a new thing. This is a new element. That when this information about the license plate came in, he was talking to Wiegert on his cell phone, driving, and trying to write down on a notepad on his knee while he was driving. That's never been said before. I've never heard this before.
No.
He also
So
recalled what he did on his day off in
that's
great
right.
detail.
That's right. He did. So there are added elements that we didn't know from prior documentation. But the bulk of it, I already knew it. For me personally, you have this used to be truther, I guess, Kristen, that flipped during the process of this, this whole thing going on. And it was made such a pretty big deal out of it. But I'm going to tell you, I really have no real sympathy for that because the information has been out there for years. All this information has been out there. And if you don't take the time to read it, that's on you. If you truly want to know the truth, you're going to search. And for something you're searching for and can't find it, you ask. There are people around that will tell you and can direct you probably to 99.9% of the stuff that's been presented in CAM. It just is. It's out there.
Correct.
So for me, a couple of recordings, that jail calls that we don't have. We never got them. We didn't receive them when the jail calls were requested. Again, this goes back to, the argument, the document I showed you earlier, these jail calls of Jody, I can't get for some damn reason. So far, still working on it. There's some calls we don't have that we heard. There are
Some
there's
photos.
there's a couple of photos that we don't have. One of them being this perked up me and Doc and Duke for sure. That photo, right, Doc, of Petito on the 10th.
Yep, on the 10th.
So for me personally, no. This was a hit piece against Ma'am, a great hit piece on Stephen and Brendan. It was well done. It was well produced, even down to Ma'am's danger music. For me, no, sorry. That's all I got. Who wants to go next?
I like what Nosy said. She said they used Earl and Rich Donovan for credibility. Enough said.
Oh my God, I know. Nosy could probably talk at length about the things that went on back on Twitter back in 2018, 2019 of what this guy did. It was insane what he did. And he wants to talk about, like he's some angel, and he's not. Anyway. Who's next?
Okay.
Doc?
For me, what I've learned so far, this was a really good episode that we rebutted. It covered quite a lot. The only thing that I learned new was Sarah Fausk and her hypothesis about Loof detecting the life sentence of Teresa Horvath. Oh boy, that's caused an explosion everywhere. And we're waiting, hopefully, for a professional canine handler to come on and do a podcast with us and try and explain it, because we're not professional dog handlers. I understand all the chemistry and physiology behind how these dogs work, how the human remains detection dogs work, and also the bloodhounds. But it'd be very interesting to get a professional who works with these dogs and what they actually detect when they're tracking, et cetera, but apart from that, I've learned nothing new. I was aware of, they showed some really nasty pictures of Stephen with his daughter, I think it was. We've seen them. We've discussed them. I thought it was really an attack on Ma'am, the filmmakers, the truther community, that were all brainwashed by making a murderer. And a lot of people in the chat, they're brainwashed too, that were not capable of independent research. And also they showed the journey of how truthers are flipped and became state advocates. And we're looking at each other going, shit, did we miss something in CAM? Did we miss something that was jaw-dropping and, yep, no worries. No, not at all. I still keep looking for the truth.
I saw nothing in CAM that changed my mind. that would make me believe that they actually killed Teresa. There's nothing there.
No.
I saw maybe a few other things that Ma'am did that I didn't realize they had done. The 3 different uses of Andy's reaction, the flattened bullet, some things that really didn't, have a lot of effect. I mean, I understand that they did some things that, they shouldn't have, in my opinion.
I agree.
But I don't think they like people are now like, oh, they're just huge liars and they're just so deceitful. And, no, I'm sorry. Yes, they did some things that they should not have. Changed the testimony, for instance. It didn't change the outcome of Andy's statement or, his answers. They basically said it again in another way, and and they added in that he denied it, and so I don't see Ma'am being so freaking deceitful that I'm angry that I've had this wrong all along. They tricked me. This is what Cam is trying to say. And I'm sorry, but you haven't proved that to me. And you haven't proved that Stephen and Brendan are guilty either. So.
We've known for, those of us that have been into it knew in 2016 that Making Murder altered some of the testimony. We knew that. It's just not new to me at all. And at the same time, it didn't affect me. It just did. Do I wish they hadn't done it? Of course I do. Just play it. Just play it, Take a few seconds out somewhere else. I think it was wrong to do that for any kind of dramatic effect. Which, again, it didn't change anything. But just, when you're messing with trial testimony, just leave it alone. Don't mess with it.
Do not edit anything. Correct. I agree.
All right, Rhonda, what's our next question?
I lost it. I had it highlighted. I think it was Anthony who was asking if, let's see, I think I started. If Cam was a fizz or fizzer or, I think it was a flop personally. But
well, you gotta understand though that Cam was not shot for us. We're not the target. So if you look at it from the direction that they shot it, it was a success. You can ask any of the state advocates, and they love it. They just love it. But for us that are in it for different reasons, I look at it as the truther community, those that have been into it for a long time, even short time. I could probably say we want we want all the evidence on the table. Let us look at everything. And the other side wants it buried. They do not want everything on the table. I can tell you that for a fact. That's true. It's a true statement. They don't. Otherwise, why would Brenda have made the statement during that interview with those guys? Smokescreen, is that their name?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So why would she make the statement during that interview that she'll share anything in her document library, and then when she was asked to do it, she refused. She flat out refused, and I don't think that's cool at all. She was close to Kratz. Of course, he was there at least in the beginning, and I don't know what he brought on board to share with the group. There was also this close relationship with Tom Fassbender, and he had many years at the DOJ. Don't know what he brought on board, but I suspect that I can't prove it. I'm not making any allegations of anything. I want to be clear about this. Where did that November 10th, 2005 photo come from? We can't get it. At least we haven't been able to so far. But there it is, right there in cam. So, okay, let's move on to the next question.
Okay, next question. Yeah, Clive, I want to know if Stephen's trial was not fixed, why did the sheriff's son buy food for the jurors and intimidate them? Vote guilty. Case should have been thrown out.
No, I don't think he bought food for I don't remember that at all.
No.
I do remember.
Sheriff's son?
Yeah, I don't remember that at all. I do know that
He didn't buy it, he delivered it, I think, if I'm not mistaken.
Well, I think that was in Brendan's
Is that
case.
Brendan's
actually.
trial?
Yeah, I think that's Brendan's, but
Thought he went
Stephen's
to
jury.
serve drinks. Like the
Brendan's, yeah.
bartender.
Well, Stephen's trial, when the jury was sequestered for their deliberations, they had sent a question to the jail bailiffs to ask if they could have adult drinks after dinner, and the judge said yes, and that should have been delivered back to the jail bailiff, but Sheriff Poggle says, I'll go tell them, don't worry about it. So he goes and has drinks with the jury.
Yeah.
To me, that's completely inappropriate. Completely inappropriate.
That's jury tampering.
Well,
It is jury tampering.
he shouldn't have been there. So
The sheriff? I mean, come on.
that's right. So anyway, all
Look
right.
what's happening with Alex Murdaugh.
Oh yeah.
That's another shit show.
Yep.
It is.
Okay, and Kahuna says, do we have a good luminol fluorescence of the blood in the back of the RAB?
Well, I didn't even know that luminol treated
They
the
didn't
RAB.
lumin.
They didn't
No,
luminol
they
though.
didn't.
No.
They didn't need to. It was obvious. They could see it.
Yeah, it was so, yeah.
But I still think I still think they should have.
Yeah.
No, I think you luminol when you know something's been cleaned up or it's not to the naked eye. I think it's when you luminol.
Well, but there could be more present that we can't.
There could be on the carpet or
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I
That's true.
think they should have luminoled it to see if there's anything that was missed. But
would that make a difference if there was more blood in there? How would that change anything?
It could explain how the blood droplets are linked or whether there's no link at all. Because if you got blood in the dropper, you're not going to be going drip, 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 drip. You just put it where you need to place it. By luminol treating, you could also determine if, say, somebody touched something, there was a little bit of blood, so potentially you could
Wiped it off.
Yeah.
Exactly right. Exactly right. Yep. And it wasn't done.
Right. Okay, Double D, you might have answered this before, but I can't remember. Did foul play ask for the emails, texts, and docs in the ACV Netflix case now that Cam is out? I don't know that it's a matter of asking for anything. It's a matter of what they've already released and what's sealed, if I'm not mistaken. I'm
sure the status of those emails. We haven't figured it out.
Yeah.
I haven't. Do you know anything,
no,
Jack?
I don't.
Cherie,
just
do you
know-
know anything?
She may have stepped away.
Oh yeah, her daughter's here. Sorry, her daughter's there for a minute.
Oh, okay.
I just know
Yeah,
that I just know that Ludwig said at least twice he doesn't like sealing anything in a federal case. It should be open to the public, period. So that's all we know so far. I know that Cherie has she has pager, and if anything gets unsealed, she'll get a notification.
Yeah, she
I
gets
do. Yeah, and I also know that someone in the community actually wrote to Judge Ludwig about this, and but I don't think they've gotten any reply, to my knowledge.
Anthony Hills, any of Teresa's hair in the back?
That's a very
Where
not as far as I'm aware, but that's a very good question because the impression of the blood on the plastic part where the wheel well is evidence that her head had contacted that part of the vehicle. But whether they recovered any hairs, that I don't know. I haven't seen anything. I know that there's a hair sticking in one of the air conditioning vents
from the front.
There's in the front, but I don't know whether they've done any analysis of that at all. Yep.
I don't remember reading anything, Doc. Any lab report from Culhane or
no.
Yeah.
It was probably Culhane's hair. Kahuna asks, what about the dent in the right rear of the RAV? Suspicious that we have no pictures.
I think that was an illusion. That dent in the right rear. I think that's.
Yeah, I don't know.
Do you recall that?
I don't.
I remember there was talk of that it could have been a bullet strike, but I think it was an optical illusion. Otherwise, it would have been recorded, because what they do, the very first thing they do is they walk around the RAV and take note of any damage. The one that I'm very concerned about is the damaged blinker light. No one talks about that.
Right.
No one talks about that.
Well, and that post, well, at the cargo door on the left-hand side going up, there's something there because they marked it with the white tape. They did A23. There's white tape there also as an indicator of something there. But we don't know anything about that mark on that post going up to the roof.
Correct.
Kahuna says that was mentioned in Brendan's trial.
So
this dent?
Well, that was her last question, or their last question, so I'm assuming.
Yeah, I guess
I don't know.
I don't remember that.
I don't either.
I could check up after.
The Rambler hood was covering the dent, no picture.
And they didn't fingerprint the Rambler hood either. The prints.
There's lots of pictures of the RAV all around
Yeah.
from the lab, though, right?
There are some, yes. And there's plenty of pictures of the RAV when the FBI took it apart, took the seats apart and scanned it.
Well, hey, while we're talking here, you guys go ahead and I'll look. I'll just do a quick scan.
Thank you, Kahuna.
Yeah, thank you. She says the Rambler hood was covering the dent and there's no picture. She said she'll get a transcript page for us.
Okay. Nice.
Excellent.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah. So then Passive Bearer says, can you please explain A23 and who it ruled out?
Well, just very, very quickly, A23 was blood that was found at the back door, the latch that you open the back door of the RAV4. Cherie Culhane was able to extract genomic DNA from A23, but she only obtained a partial DNA profile. She never published the profile, but she was asked directly by, I think it was Buting, about, did you find Stephen Avery's DNA in the back? And she said no. She effectively ruled out Stephen Avery as being the contributor of A23, was only a partial profile. And by extension, because she also had Brendan Dassey's DNA, you could essentially rule him out too. So by that means that if any of the alleles that she obtained for A23 were identical to Stephen or Brendan, if they're all the same, then she can say, I can't exclude them. But if one or more of the alleles were different, that means it's not Stephen and it's not Brendan. And interesting that Culhane never mentioned that it could have been Teresa Hallbach's blood. I suspect it's different. So, but she never stated that, but she never ruled Teresa Hallbach in or out. Quite clearly, what you want to do is re-extract A23, determine whose profile it is, and run it through CODIS. It could be very, very interesting.
Sure could.
Yep.
You're gonna see something pop on screen there. This is I can't remember exactly when this photo was taken. Let's see.
That's where that's where the hood would have been.
After the fingerprinting.
September 5th. This is the metadata says September 5th, 2006. So we'll take that. That's as close as it'll let me zoom in. And
I can't see anything significant.
Yeah, I don't really see any dent. I see a reflection back here.
Mm-hmm.
And right there, but I don't see any dent. I'm not sure what that's referring to. It's got cladding down below here. And that can be damaged, sure, but I don't know. Get us a page number, but we can take a look.
Wasn't A23 a male profile? Ronald Cass asked.
We don't know. We don't know what the amelogenin, if amelogenin came up. Amelogenin is determine the sex of the DNA sample, whether it's a male or a female. Sharika Hine never said it, but the implication is if she ruled Stephen out, we do not know whether it was a male or female, right? So again, we're only speculating, which means that to really determine the profile, A23 needs to be re-extracted. Correct.
And to talk about the area I was talking about, you see this white tab at the back here, this post going up. Let me see if I can get a better photo. I don't know if there's one on this one or not. I don't. Sorry, I'm just flipping through these to get back. It's inside. That's inside. Okay. See it right there. Right up here. To my knowledge, this is never explained anywhere, and they've tagged that for a reason.
Yeah.
No idea why. No idea why. Just like they did,
Special to get to know.
Can you see the lanyard in there? No.
Yeah, no.
No, that's long gone.
Kahuna has put State v. Dassey trial page 143, line 9 in the chat. Okay. I don't see any other real questions, so this may be a good time to stop, or I don't know what you guys want to do.
Well, if there's nothing else tagged. Well, if you don't want anything else starred, no. I'm good. I'm good to end it here.
I think we've done enough. We've done a lot. We've covered all of episode 9, which was awesome.
Yes.
Oh, she says 142, page 142, not 143. Okay, thanks, Kahuna.
Yep.
Or he. I don't know if it's a she or a he, so I apologize.
Oh, no problem at all. Okay. I guess we just quickly go around the bend here and ask if anything's got what's coming up. Rhonda, I know you've got some podcasts coming up. You can plug that if you want, and then we'll just go quickly around the room for final thoughts, and we'll get the hell out of here.
Of course, I'll plug it. First, I want to say thanks to everybody on the panel and everybody in the chat. You guys, again, were on fire tonight. So we appreciate all the comments and the questions. Hopefully it went a little better tonight than it did last night.
It did.
And so, yeah, so we're going to do, I think I said it last night, but hey, you can never say it too many times. We're going to do a show on Thursday and our regular night, and we're going to read the preliminary transcript of Shardarian Hill. It's going to be interesting and twisty and dark and all that stuff. And then I was just been chatting with a couple of my panel members while we've been doing this, and looks like Friday is not going to work for some of my readers the day after Thanksgiving. Wednesday won't work either. So we're going to do instead of making you wait for 2 weeks, we're going to start the trial transcript reading on Tuesday, right after the Tuesday following, or the Tuesday week of Thanksgiving.
Okay.
So that we can kind of stay a little bit better on track. So we'll go back to Tuesday for the week of Thanksgiving. Otherwise, we'll be here Thursday to do preliminary transcript readings. And appreciate everybody that helps me on the panel, and I appreciate everybody here tonight. Thank you, guys.
Thank you for all the background work you were doing and everything, Rhonda. Really appreciate that. And then next, JD, anything to add you want to talk about before we get out of here? We may have put JD as, oh no, there's Jay.
No, I'm still here. I'm still listening away. So no, I just enjoyed what we've done so far, and I think we've covered a lot tonight as well.
Excellent. Excellent. Well, thanks for coming and hanging with us, Jay. Really appreciate it. And then we have Cherie. Well, Cherie may not be able to talk. She's got company, so. Dr. Silkman.
Yeah, I really enjoyed our 2 rebuttals that we did yesterday and today. Yesterday was very, very fiery, and today was not as bad, which was awesome. But I think we've done our due diligence, and I think we selected some really good clips that we had a really good debate and discussion about. And yeah, like I said, I haven't seen anything in Cam that made me believe in the boy's guilt, but Cam has certainly been very, very controversial. It's certainly opened up a lot of discussion, and yeah, guys, I think we've got one more rebuttal to do, episode 10, which should be very, very interesting as well. But yeah, thank you so much for your support, guys, and your comments. Awesome. Thank you.
Thanks, Doc. And Susan, final thoughts. What's going on?
Episode 10 should be fun. But since it was mostly about the truther community. But yeah, I echo that. I said that earlier. But yeah, I think it was a great night rebutting what they have put out there. And I am so looking forward to diving into that pot roast.
I'm having leftover pizza.
I'll say good night, everybody. Enjoy your pizza, Jack.
I will. And Alice, I don't know if Granny Alice is still awake. It's late for her too, like really late. But Alice, you still here?
Yeah, still here. Just been listening. Great podcast as always. Great questions coming through the chat. Scam has done nothing whatsoever to change my mind on the guy's guilt. I still believe that they are innocent. Scam has just been full of lies. Basically everything that they were calling Mammoth for is what they have done. So the hypocrisy is rife coming from them. It's been bullshit and a load of bollocks that I've seen in all the episodes that I've seen. So people can change their minds. We don't mind that. We don't care about that. What we care about is the truth and the innocence of the boys. I'm not here for drama. I'm not here to take sides. I'm not here for anything like that. I'm here for the truth, and I'm here to try and help in any way whatsoever to get these boys free. And if that means talking about it and investigating it and going through documents and things like that, because maybe we'll come across something that nobody else has come across before, which is a good thing, and hopefully that'll help. So that's what I'm here for, and Cam has done nothing to change my mind. So thank you to everyone on panel, and thank you to everyone in the chat. It's been great to see you all.
Well said.
Absolutely. Well, I'd certainly like to thank everybody on the panel, of course, Great comments and conversation, and certainly everybody that joined in the live chat, whether you commented or not, being a part of it and listening to, I'll say it again before we go, do your own investigation, come up to your own conclusions. Don't believe anything we say. Take your own route. That's why we're here. We're here to provide as much information and give our opinion. We have the right to do that. You're right. You have the right to disagree or agree. And that's what my goal is. Get information out. Look at the integrity of the investigation and where it led to, and the pretrial and the trial and everything that followed. Doc, anything to add?
No, I think that sums up really good. And again, we're very fortunate for Barb, who's Brendan's mum, to come on and give us a couple of comments. And we're blessed to have her here. It must be very, very difficult for her. And again, thank you guys for being very, very civil and for your great questions. Thank you so much.
All right, guys, that said, we're going to take up and get something to eat. And I'm going to say, it's been a Foul Play production.